evening, guys. Good to see you again, Alan.
Likewise.
Let's see, we have CR in the house. Food Forest Permaculture. Howie is in the house, or was. He was 725.
I see
And
Guardian.
you.
Guardian's
Yeah,
there.
I'm Guardian too. Good to see you. And CR. And Andy Walker on your side. Diana in the house too. Good to see you. And there we have Mark.
Hello. What's up, Alan?
How you doing, mate? How you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Finally got the sun
And
to come out
Purple
today.
Ale in the
And now I'm
house,
sitting
too.
here on a
Good
live
to see
stream.
you. Yeah. Good to see you again, Mark.
You too, man. Hey, what happened last week? I went out to change my freeze dry stuff. I come back and you were gone. I'm like,
I had to
difficulties, or
end earlier because I had to
yeah, stuff
pick
to
up
do.
my wife.
There you go. Okay. I didn't know. I was like, I should go back and watch and find out what the heck happened. I'm like, yeah, I'll just do something else.
Purple Ale in the house, so that's good. And Guardian. So that's all for now, but well, today's topic is extreme climate adaptation, the indoor survivalist. I have actually some key points for this topic. So, where is my notes? There.
No, you should know this off the top of your head. You don't need notes. Right now, I think most of us are indoor survivalists, except for Alan. He does both ways. He does indoor and outdoor.
Yeah.
Mostly outdoor. Mostly outdoor, but I think
mostly outdoors. Yeah.
Do you know what? I was just saying, before we came on, I was just talking to Shadow, and we were saying most people would be indoors, so it makes more sense to focus on the indoors than it does the outdoors when it comes to sudden, changes in our climate. If whether it be hot or cold or whatever, because that's where most people are. And why would you want to go outdoors if the climate was terrible outside? Yeah,
it's like my house is fine, or where I'm living is fine. Nothing's going to happen to it except just protect it. Why am I going to leave?
Exactly.
There's nothing going
Hey,
on
Grumpy,
in my area.
good to see you.
Hot, cold, dealing without climate control in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have some keynotes for this topic. The headline for this is Passive Cooling Hacks. Discover ancient low-tech solutions like the sear pot and the Egyptian sheet method for surviving extreme heat without a single watt of electricity. The first keynote is the science of vapor barriers, how to manage humidity and condensation to prevent internal rain and the rapid onset of mold or hypothermia in sealed environments. Thermal layering. 2.0, moving past just wear a coat. We'll discuss the physics of loft trapped air and why your flooring is your biggest enemy in the winter. Blackout light and psychology, managing the cave effect, how to use mirrors and positioning to maximize natural light and keep moral high when the windows are boarded and insulated. So, what do you think about those keynotes?
I know one of those keynotes applied to me at my cabin when I first built it. First night I spent in there overnight, I didn't have a wood stove. Figured, okay, I'll stay warm. Let me throw my propane heater on. Yes, I left the door and a window open enough so it got ventilation, so I didn't die of CO. And I got the temperature up. It was like 20 outside Fahrenheit, which I don't know what that is. CR, what's 20 Fahrenheit in Celsius? And I got the inside up to in the 50s. Shut the doors and shut the windows and went to sleep and woke up with a migraine, and the windows were all fogged up because of me. I literally almost gassed myself out. I had a splitting headache for 2 days, and I realized then, yeah, you need to don't, if you're going to sleep in the cold, you better have a wood stove and the window cracked open so you get fresh air in there, because that about ruined me.
Yeah. I think when it comes to sort of moisture management and things like that, the key thing that hot and cold climates have in common is ventilation or venting, especially when it comes to not just changing the ambient air temperature, but literally just allowing the moisture, the water vapor that's came from your body or somewhere else to escape. Because a damp cold is worse than just about any kind of normal dry air cold you can feel, because damp cold lingers, it clings to you, and it causes lots of other problems. Whereas when it comes to high humidity, that worsens heat. So the dehumidifying as much as possible is a good strategy to try and remove that horrible sort of lingering heat that's around, because there's moisture in the air, especially if you're indoors in a small room or something like that. So vapor barriers as well. I mean, there's a whole thing about vapor barriers and wilderness survival, which is relevant to indoor survival if you're talking about being in a dwelling that hasn't got central heating or air conditioning. So we're literally just talking about, we're basically talking about, we're back to the point where we're living in man-made caves, and the ability to manage that moisture correctly sometimes goes beyond just ventilation, and that's where vapor barriers would come in. A vapor barrier being a barrier that you put usually between yourself and the outdoors, so that the moisture coming off of your body doesn't go into the space that you're dwelling, usually in a tent, because then you end up waking up and the inside of your tent's dripping wet. That's the moisture that's came off your breath, it's came off your body in the night, and it gets into your sleeping bag and your clothing, and it removes the thermal properties of those materials, because there's an excess buildup of moisture in the clothing, and that will happen inside the house as well, and that will also lead to things like mold and mildew and all sorts of problems.
Yeah, isn't water, Alan, a very decent medium for heat transfer and cold transfer?
It can be. I mean, the thing about water is it's particularly good retaining a constant temperature. I mean, that's why radiators, are full of water as well. I mean, take a look at the sea around the UK, for example. Everybody knows that the UK, it's a relatively mild climate, but it can be well below zero in the winter, and it can be 30 degrees Celsius, in real numbers, in the summer, which is quite hot. However, the temperature of the ocean around the UK is pretty much a continuous 12 degrees Celsius. I've no idea what that is in Fahrenheit, but 12 degrees Celsius pretty much all year round. It might change a little bit based, about a foot down, based on like direct sunlight and stuff, but otherwise it doesn't really change, because water, like you say, is a fantastic, has fantastic ability of retaining a relatively constant temperature. But moisture is quite different.
I know a friend of mine that had he had an indoor greenhouse, hydroponic. It was really some high-tech stuff. He just had a fan, and he had and I forget what it's called, but it was like this giant wall of some kind of fibrous material that water was constantly running down. The fans were blowing through it. So it kept the humidity up in the building, in the greenhouse, but it also cooled it in the summertime, because it'd be 100+ degrees Fahrenheit outside, which is hot. Mm-hmm. And in the greenhouse, it was down in the 70s or 80s Fahrenheit, but humidity was up because of this moisture water wall, whatever it was called. It was really cool. I mean, no pun intended. But you can use water. I mean, like you go to some of these amusement parks, and you're all standing in the cattle corral waiting for the roller coaster. They have these fans that have these high pressure misters that blow misted water into the fan. So when the water hits you, it cools you. Mm-hmm. Even though it's stupid hot outside, you feel good when that mist blows on you, and then the air blows across it, because the evaporation cools it really quick. Oh, that's it. It's called some kind of an evaporative, some kind of climate.
Yeah, wall. I've actually seen them use that in Turkey. I've been to Turkey before, and I've sat in like an outdoor terrace, and they've had these like water vapor misting fans above you. And it really is. You can really feel the temperature.
Yeah, it's like
difference.
outdoor air conditioning, and the only energy is for the fan, and I guess the compressor or whatever to inject that water mist into the fan. You can't just use a garden hose. I mean, it's a high pressure, super fine mist of water, which it settles on you, but then wind blows on you, and the evaporative cooling off of that is great.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a very common technique they use in India, which is millennia old, which all they simply do is they wet a sheet. They wet a sheet, and then they put the sheet over like an area, like a window that has a breeze going through it, and that has the same sort of cooling effect in a small space. And so in places like India, what they'll do is, in the very, very high temperatures, is they'll move to a small space, sort of upstairs, or even on a roof, or an area with a small window, but with a bit of a breeze going through it, and they'll put damp rags over that area that allows the sort of breeze to go through. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure where I've seen it. It's probably somewhere like Dubai or somewhere like that. Yeah, I've never been and seen this for myself, but I've seen it on TV. They actually have like huge walkways, where they have these like giant umbrellas, and they're also misting that whole area and keeping hundreds of people cool all at once. I imagine that's pretty expensive to do that, but yeah, the low-tech sort of damp rag is definitely a great way of thermal regulation. Even doing something as simple as wetting a cotton cloth and putting it around your neck, where your arteries are, in a hot climate, will have a fantastic cooling effect, because it will cool the blood around your neck as it pumps around your body, and you only need a very small amount of water to sort of do that continuously.
Yeah, and you could double up on your needs and what you need to do while you're stuck. Is if you did laundry, make sure it's rinsed real well and wring it out for the most part, and then hang that up, and then the moisture off of that will blow through and dry your clothes at the same time. You might as well use every bit of every not technology of resources you have.
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody asked me once. It was when the sort of Bear Grylls TV show was on, and he was in the desert and he was doing his famous sort of drinking his own pee type thing. And somebody says, "Would you do that if you were, found yourself in a hot climate? Would you drink your own pee?" I remember thinking at the time, well, no, because pee isn't particularly good for you. But what I would consider doing if I was in a dire situation at a high temperature is peeing on a rag. Peeing on something and then using that as a means to sort of cover my neck and cover my head and use the cooling effect. If I was losing the moisture anyway, in all probability, I would just hold it in, because it's better in your body than out your body if you're in that situation. But if you had to, you're much better off peeing on something than using that as a cooling.
If you're that dehydrated, chances are you're not going to have to pee.
You're not peeing anyway. Yeah,
exactly. Your body's like, oh hell no, I'm keeping that.
Yeah,
I'll give you what's left in some other form out the other end.
I mean, the only possible way I could think of is like you're in an airplane or something, and you're literally bursting for the toilet. You're about to go to the toilet, and it crashes, and you find yourself in the desert, and it's 50 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, and you still got to pee after the crash.
Maybe, yeah, you still.
And you didn't pee yourself. If you peed yourself, take your underpants off, put that around your neck. Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, you should stay at the plane. Because you have a shelter, and you can have resources you can scavenge from the plane too.
Yeah, unless it went up in a ball of flames and you wound up in the ocean, or
unless the plane is burning or something, you should not stay in the plane. You have to leave it. Otherwise, you can stay.
I suppose, or the plane crashes in a place where it's super inhospitable. I do know a survival story about that, which is interesting. It's somewhat off topic. I think Ray Mears actually did an episode about this. It was the story about a World War II bomber. It crashed in the desert, and the men, the men believed they were over water, so they did. They I think they parachuted out and they let the plane sort of fly off, but it was in the desert. Basically, the plane crashed. They bailed out. They made their way back to the plane, and then they had to decide whether they were going to stay with the plane or whether they were going to try and walk in the desert to find water. and they walked in the desert, and they all perished, unfortunately. But they left the diary of what they were going to do and things like that. And then, like in the 50s or something ridiculous like that, or the 60s, they finally found this plane. And it was basically like they found a thermos of coffee in it, and they found the diary, and they found all the stuff, and they managed to track where the people likely went, and I think they found a skeleton and things like that. But the tragedy of that story was that the men actually had no hope whatsoever in any case, because the unfortunate place where they crashed, they were literally so far away from water, it would be impossible for them to walk to it. But the plane crashed like just after the Second World War, and they didn't find it till the 50s. So nobody was finding it, but that's a special case, for the most part, stay with the crash is the best thing to do. If you can find that episode on Ray Mears's, I think that's his series called Extreme Survival, and there's an episode all dedicated to that. It'll be one of the desert episodes. It's fantastic. I forget the name of it, but it's a really good, interesting piece of history.
Yeah.
As Shadow finishes his coffee.
Yeah. If you crash in a desert, I would try to avoid to walk away from the plane.
Yeah, these days you got a better chance of being found if you stay with the plane just to stay out of the sun. Mm-hmm. Than you do if you just decide to wander off. Unless you saw water and you know exactly which direction it is, maybe.
Mm.
It's the same with,
It's the same with a car. A lot of people in desert environments, or even cold weather environments, but I think mostly desert environments, like in places like Australia, where they can find themselves miles from nowhere, and their car breaks down or something. The temptation there is to, okay, it only took me 2 hours to drive here, I can walk back on this road. But that's an absolute burning temperature, heat, direct sunlight piling on you. You're far safer to stay with the vehicle, because a vehicle is a bigger object to be able to spot from the air for a start. And people if they're looking for you, they're looking for your car, and it's much easier for them to find a big object than it is anything else.
Yeah, they can find your empty car and go, great, now we got another couple days to find out which direction we think they went.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not blowing out of the sand, so they don't know.
That's why it's important to mark your way, where you go, what direction. You can make an arrow on the ground with rocks or a log.
Something.
Yeah, something that is large enough to...
Alan knows. I mean, if you're in the woods and you got lost, and at least as long as you know somebody knew where you were going, stay still.
Yeah, you can put
wander around.
Those reflective tapes in the direction you go. Mm-hmm. People can follow that. And from where you're stranded, you can basically put an arrow this direction, and you put a reflective tape on the nearest tree, and then you keep going doing that, and they can find you that way.
Yeah. But I mean, as the general advice for things like that is to usually stay put if you find yourself lost. There might be a time where you have to self-rescue, where you are venturing off from the place that you're at for whatever reason. But that I think that's quite rare. I mean, most people don't actually need to self-rescue like that. It's different if you're like a military airman or something, and you find yourself shot down in Iran. Yeah, get the hell out of Dodge. But they have training in place that allows them to go unseen and get to a particular place and then activate a beacon. So that's a very different.
There's a lot of people that go missing in the national forests in that Midwest in the United States. They just disappear.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not they're abducted by aliens, Bigfoot, or Yeti, nobody knows. They just disappear, and then they find them a year or two later somewhere else. But do you always know if you have a map? I mean, at least know where you're going. Have the map with you and try to keep track of where you are and how far you are away from a road. And east, west, north, south. I mean, sun comes up, sun goes down, same place all the time. So you can at least give yourself some general bearing of, okay, I'm between Route 1, Route 5, Route 20, and this logging road. So if I walk in any direction in a perfectly straight line, even if it's diagonal, you're going to wind up at a road somewhere or some kind of a path that is there, and then you can follow that, assuming you have enough supplies to get you there.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, I know we're slightly off topic here, but it's kind of interesting anyway. But yeah, it's actually very difficult to walk in a straight line without a compass in a wilderness environment. A lot of people don't realize this, but if you try to walk in a straight line in a place without a very distant feature to follow on the horizon, like say you're in a woodland, for example, your dominant foot that you lead off on, you're likely to travel basically in a circle. A very slow circle, and you'll eventually come right back round to where you left off, and it's a natural thing. You don't know you're doing it. That's why compasses are incredibly important.
Compasses, or if you have something like a roll of that colored tape for contractors with you, you hang a piece of tape where you start, you walk in a direction, you hang another piece of tape, then you walk a little further. As long as you can keep seeing two of them, you're going to maintain your straight line. So yeah, we're getting way off topic here.
Yeah, no, I remember Bob mentioning this as well. Just because we're talking about it, I may as well show it. But it's Bob was talking about this and blaze tape.
Yep.
It's fantastic stuff.
It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's really cheap.
Super
you buy it at the big box store for lumber and that. And yeah, it's for marking off areas or tying on stuff, and it's just super cheap. It rips easy. If you got to pop a piece off, you don't need scissors or a knife. And you can tie it on and it won't go anywhere for a while. I mean,
it's waterproof, it's high visibility, it's not adhesive, so you just tie it on things, like you say, dirt cheap. But yeah, good stuff.
Guardian Gardening says, do exactly what the desert tribes do for water. Spend a little time studying Arabian survival techniques.
Yeah. I don't know what they are, but sounds like a good idea. I just don't plan on going into anywhere that's desert style ever.
Well,
but you can apply their techniques in your own country too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, one of the techniques that we could employ in our own household, like we're talking about indoor type survival here when it comes to climatic change, is something just as simple as sort of loose fitting clothes. Light, loose fitting clothing in a hot environment can really make a big difference, especially if you're wearing something like cotton or linen, white cotton or linen. That sort of you look like a bit of a hippie. But there's a reason if you look at these Middle Eastern countries, a lot of people have these long sort of white gowns and cloth and things like that. And people think, Christ, they must be boiling in that thing. No, they're not. It's the exact opposite, in fact. It's actually a very good cooling strategy,
shorts, a tight t-shirt, and sneakers is not really a good option because you're going to lose so much humidity out of your skin, especially in the exposed areas where the wind blows against it and you're sweating. Yeah, you're gonna dehydrate really quick.
And go for light colors as well. You don't really want black. You don't want anything like that. The lighter the better. In a lot of these kind of environments, or even, I mean, even if you're just indoors, if you're in a prolonged period of a particularly strong summer, walking around in lighter clothing, will go a long way to keeping you a little bit cooler.
Yeah, some summers we have at least over 30 degrees Celsius here. And that's horrible. And I have most times when it's really hot outside, we have at least 34 degrees in the apartment. That's terrible.
I can't do heat. When it gets that, like our air conditioning in the house went down twice in the last 22 years. First time was right after we moved in, and it was June or July, right in the worst part of the heat of the summer. The inside of the house is up to the 80s, 90s in Fahrenheit, which I don't know what that is Celsius. It's hot. And we keep our house at a nice even 70. But my wife, she's like, I can't sleep here. Neither one of us really could. She went to a hotel. Took the girls. She was like, we're going to a hotel. You can stay here. And I slept in the basement. It was nice and cool down there. Waited for the AC guy to show up and fix it or replace it.
That's horrible when you have, one summer we had 34 degrees in the apartment, and that was horrible.
Yeah, it's like
you couldn't be
Fahrenheit.
outside, you couldn't be inside. Oh. it was
Yep.
so horrible.
Fans just blew the hot air through and kept everything hot. Yeah. I can't stand the heat. I'd
summertime,
rather move north, deal with the cold than deal with the heat.
I prefer the cold because you can deal with cold better than the heat.
Yeah. And you could always add more layers on. You can't take your skin off.
No,
Well, you could, but you wouldn't last very long.
no.
I've got to admit, I do like the heat. I do like. I've always had this idea: if I was going to move to another country, you know, if I won the lottery tomorrow, you know, I wouldn't be moving to a cold country. I'd be in the Bahamas or something. You know, it'd be somewhere like that. It would be.
You'd be moving to the outback of Australia, out in the middle of nowhere in a desert. As long as you had a well to get water, you'd be good.
Yeah. I mean, that to me sounds fantastic. Actually, you know,
you just have to worry about the scorpions and the snakes and other things out there that'll get you in the
crocs.
Night. Yeah, well, you know, there's just as dangerous things in this country, I can tell you.
Oh yeah.
You know, you go out in the night out here, I'd welcome crocs over some of the people I see.
Yeah, it's not the animals, it's the animals.
Yeah.
So if you were stuck in your house in the heat, what would you do aside from hanging like damp linens up with a fan, assuming you still had power?
Yeah,
or a breeze
blowing all the time, 24/7 basically, because it's horrible.
Yeah, you don't exactly have air conditioning where you're at. Nobody needs it except for some of the big public buildings and the office spaces where they need it in certain times of year. Most of them just have heat, right?
Here in Sweden, we don't have air conditioning like you have in the US.
Right.
Because when they build a house or apartments, they don't build in air conditioning. They don't.
Right. Does anybody ever go out and buy a window unit? You know, the ones that we have here that you stick in your window. You close it up, you close the window around it, and you can turn it on, and the cold, you know, it cools the air inside and blows the heat back outside.
Good to see you.
Yeah, so like just like Shadow in the UK, we don't typically build air conditioning units in our buildings either, because the UK is a relatively mild country. Actually, I mean it's not too hot and it's not too cold really, so there's no need for things like air conditioning usually. But I did notice when I moved to this house a few years ago, this is a brick built house, and brick actually retains heat a lot better than a lot of other materials. Plus, because I'm kind of on a hill, and there's big windows and the sun goes right through it and things like that, it heats the house up quite a lot, you know. So I got myself one of those. You can get these what they call it, a portable air conditioning unit, but it's not very portable.
Yep.
You know, it's like, I don't know how big
I got two of them. Yeah, it rolls around on the floor. You hook the vent tube to the window.
It's got a pipe,
and you just have to collect the moisture because it dehumidifies at the same time. And
well, the one I've got, it's you have it sitting beside where the window is, and it has like a long pipe, a long tube, and you put that outdoors, out the window, and then you seal up the window that's still got air going to it, and the vapor also goes out of that as well. So there's no need for me to collect sort of the water vapor.
Yeah, we bought one and a window unit when we lost our AC that one year, and then I took it out to the cabin with me, and then a friend of mine gave me his. He's like, I don't ever use it. I never need it. Take it. It was like brand new. So I keep one at the house. I got one at the cabin. When it gets dead of summer, inside of that cabin, because I leave it shut down all the time. I can't leave the windows open. And I get in there sometimes, and it's like brutal inside. So we'll just fire that up, turn the generator on, run it for like 2 hours. That's it. It's done. It's enough to get the humidity out and cool it down. And then we just, leave the window cracked open a little bit overnight. It always cools down at night. And so I keep one out there. It's taking up space, but it's invaluable when it's dead of summer.
I mean, the thing about if we're talking about sort of on-grid technologies, central heating is obviously fantastic if you live in a particularly cold environment, and air conditioning is good if you live in a particularly hot environment. But I mean, if we're talking about it from a survival situation, I suppose for some reason the grid is completely down, and it could actually be because very high temperatures or very low temperatures can cause the grid to go down.
Yep.
And so, there's a period of time where you have nothing at all, and how can we get around that situation? And the interesting thing about cold and heat is they're kind of they're literally opposites, but in a lot of ways the livability, the way that you adapt your livability to deal with both those things is very similar. It's simply a case of sometimes moving to a room that is more suited to cooler climates or warmer climates. So if you're looking for a cooler place, you're going to want to go as far down as possible. So if you've got a basement, that's going to be the coolest place in your house, or the ground floor, and sort of work your way up. And of course, the reverse will be, if you're looking for the hottest place, you would move around there. But I mean, having a centralized zone, a single room that you can control the climate better, is always going to be a good idea. I mean, I know a lot of people talk about tents in their living room and things like that, but I mean, in reality, for the most part, you can probably get away with just one room. Like if you've got a box room, a smallish room with a smallish window, it's far easier for you and a small family to control the climate of that room than it would be a big tent and a bigger room, to my mind. And you can do things like, there's universal things you can do, like having thick blackout curtains. I've got blackout curtains in this room, and they're thick, but they're equally as good at retaining the heat in this room in the winter, but also blocking out the sunlight, preventing the room heating up throughout the day. And having good loft insulation also works the exact same way. It doesn't just keep the heat in, it also insulates the house from the sun beating down on the roof and heating up the entire building. So you can adapt your household with a few simple measures to create a microclimate within a small space.
That's why I came downstairs when we lost the air conditioning. It was cooler down here. It was a little humid, but I dealt with it. Wife can't. Kids can't.
Yeah. And the problem we have here in my apartment on wintertime, the temperature drops really in this apartment. So
yeah. What kind of heat do you have? You guys are on oil or gas or electric heat?
No, we have I need to check what the English word is for it. Where is Google?
Like a heat pump? Like it's an outdoor unit?
No, we have something called I'm gonna find the word first, the English word for it, because I don't know the word for it on English.
The heating I've got is gas, so it's gas central heating is what I've got.
That's what we have. Well, I have a heat pump because my climate allows for a heat pump. Is basically an air conditioner, outdoor air conditioning unit that in the summertime it blows the hot air outside and the cold air in, and then in the wintertime it reverses. So it blows instead of it compressing the gas to the outside to lose the heat, and when it evaporates, it does it to the inside. So it's kind of good. And the one I got is from Bosch. It's from Germany. And that thing it'll work down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like 20 below Celsius. Those standard ones they've had around here forever only go down to about 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which mine just saves a ton of energy. And then when it gets too cold, if it can't keep up, the computer knows it and it just fires up the gas furnace, which I think that thing's only fired up maybe 3 times in the last 10 years.
So see with that heat pump system, do you have to have that on continuously? Because there is actually a bit of a push to move people towards heat pumps in the UK, and there's a bit of a push back, especially in my part of the UK, where a lot of people don't think
it's all
it really
electric.
Works that well. Yeah, it's all electric.
It depends on your climate, and everybody's because some people around here have heat pumps, some have that now heat pumps. Well, central AC units, if you have it with the furnace and all that stuff built together. When you turn the thermostat to the warm side, it fires up the gas or the oil. In the summertime, it just runs the AC. But mine does both at the same time. It does both. I don't have to leave it run all the time. I leave the fan running all the time. But like right now, I have it because it's been getting hot, getting cold. And so I just have the AC on. I set it for like 70 or 72. And right now I got the doors and windows open because it's 60 outside. So I'm not worried about it turning. If I hear it turn on, I'm like, okay, the sun was hitting the thermostat, and I'll just shut it off. But no, I mean, Most people around my area don't have heat pumps. There's a bunch that do, and most people complain about it because they don't work. But a lot of them have electric backup. So instead of having a gas furnace, they use electric, and the electric heater elements and those things will kill your electric bill. And my friend has one. He can't do anything else about it right now. And in the wintertime, now he fires up the wood stoves. And because if that auxiliary heat turns on, he can watch his power meter on the outside of the house just spin so fast you can't even see the lines on the dial. So
here in Sweden, we usually have district heat. So,
it's like steam that pipes through from an area. New York City has that.
Yeah,
where everything is giant steam generator plants, and that's why if you see pictures and old videos in New York City, you see steam coming out of the ground. Mm-hmm. That's because the steam pipes would leak, and but all the buildings were on steam heat. So yeah, that's the city made the steam for you. You just ran it through the pipes in your building into the radiators and that, and it just used mechanical valves to turn it on and off to control the temperature. Summertime, that's different. You don't use heat. You don't use steam to heat yourself, to cool yourself in the summertime. So
I'm actually surprised that they still use that system in New York. I was in New York maybe 7 or 8 years ago now, and they actually still had these big tubes on the ground.
Yeah, this big orange tube with steam coming out. Yeah, that's where there's a leak in the pipe, and they're like, short of digging up the entire road, because they have to shut the valves off for certain areas, like an electric grid, in order to let it cool, so they can re-weld the pipe or repair the pipe or replace it. So they're like, that's not. It's just a leak. So they just put a tube in the ground and let it vent up. So all year long, you see these like smokestacks of steam coming out. And
it's quite cool. I mean, it's cool looking. I like the look of it. You know, it's very unique. I think there's a couple of instances as well as there of some explosions that have took place in New York, and the steam is everywhere. You know.
I'm sure I mean, They didn't design it so it could build up large volumes of pressure. You got the pipes that have small volumes of pressure, and if something gets in those pipes, like rust and that start to build up, and it clogs it up real bad, it'll expand, but it'll usually split the pipe before it goes boom. And that's when you get all of a sudden the ground is just leaking steam everywhere. It's like, all right, well, I guess we got another leak down here. They'll usually wait till springtime before they dig it up. They'll just dig a hole, vent it, and hope that there's still enough steam going through to heat the buildings. And then in the spring, when they can shut the steam down, shut the volume down, because they can never shut it all the way off. It has to stay running, or the pipes will corrode, because they add additives to it and stuff to keep it from rotting the pipes out. So it's an interesting system, and nobody really talks about it. I mean, nobody. I mean, I was there. My dad and my whole family worked in the city, and I always used to ask, I'm like, why is there smoke coming out of the ground? My dad would be like, that's steam. That's how the city is heated. And we did a tour of the steam plant. You can't go in it, but where they generate the steam, and they boil the water and it just travels through these giant pipes all over the city. And it was really pretty cool. Now, once you get out into the outer areas like the Bronx and stuff, and the north side of the island, no, the steam doesn't run up there. You're on your own for heat. It's pretty much only downtown Manhattan.
The only ones who have heat pumps, that is those who have houses. They have that, not apartments.
No. So my daughter one of my daughters likes the heat. They're on a third floor in a condo apartment type thing. So she barely runs the heat in the wintertime, because everybody below her is running their heat, and it's transmitting through the concrete and everything else. So it keeps her floor nice and warm all the time. Summertime, she has to run the AC, but she doesn't mind the heat. So they just turn a fan on, open a door. If it's really hot, they'll turn the AC on. But there's goals for me. I'd be living on the downstairs unit, because I'll take everybody else's, my heat's rising up into their apartment, and they can cool it, and that thermal mass will cool back down and come back to me. So I'll take that all day long.
But they will change. Change here, redoing the heating system here in our apartments, I believe this year and next year. So the
What are they
temperature will
upgrading it?
stay
Upgraded to make it more
upgraded.
efficient?
So the temperature will be more even than it is now. So
Right. You probably have like one room that's always warm and the other rooms that are always cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you take a look at people who live in like the Mediterranean, Mediterranean climates and some desert climates and things like that, something you'll notice is they tend to manage the heat of their house based on times, the times of the day and things like that. So they'll do things like heat can gather in your house or build up in your house and be trapped in there. And then if the heat gets hotter and hotter during the day, you'll have a real problem trying to get rid of it. So they'll do things like open the windows very early in the morning, while the air is cooler, and that flushes out the sort of the heat that's built up in the nighttime, from your body and the radiant heat. So they're basically like cold venting their house. And then once it gets to a certain time of the day, the windows get closed, the dark curtains get pulled over, cross ventilation takes place and stuff like that. So they're actually trying to manage the temperature of the house, just based on the timings of the day. And I mean, anybody who's ever been to somewhere like Spain, they have a very sort of interesting way of their working day, where they'll have like siestas and things. The hottest point of the afternoon, everybody's off the street and everybody's away doing something else.
Yeah, they're in the shade or whatever.
In the shade, and it makes sense, But if you come to a place like the UK, that's the busiest time of day. Everybody's out and about doing stuff at that point of the day because it's obviously not as hot here as it is in places like Spain. But I think understanding the climate and then adapting your lifestyle, rather than relying on some sort of piece of tech, is a good long-term strategy, especially if we're talking about a situation where you haven't got air conditioning or central heating or something like that. It doesn't matter what kind of house it is either, unless you live in a tin shack, or a greenhouse.
Yeah.
And you're going to be warm. Period.
Then you're going to be warm, regardless. But even then, I mean, there would be ways that you could cover that up, and there's things you could do to try and mitigate against that kind of stuff. I know actually in the UK, one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people have is when it gets on the very rare occasion where we have a hot summer, people open all their windows in their house, literally every window, and they just leave them open all day. And then they can't sleep at night and they wonder, it's too bloody hot. Well, yeah, because you've left the window open all day. Now all the hot air is in the house. If you just closed the windows and shut the curtains, it would be cooler in the house than it would be outside, and you would have a comfortable night's sleep. But the instinct for us, because people aren't used to it, is, oh, it's kind of hot in here, I'll open the window.
And so I grew up in a house that, we had one window air conditioner. We lived in Jersey, and it always got hot. And when summertime came, it was too hot to sleep in my room. Yep, my parents, their room adjoined my sister's bedroom, so they would open the one door between them, and they'd stick a cot in her room, and I had to sleep in her room for years. I hated it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, they say, the thing with like climate change as well, so politics and stuff aside, they tell us, there's like a climate emergency and everything is heating up all around the world and all this kind of stuff. Whether that is or isn't true, I personally don't know. I'm assuming it is because, I'm not a climate expert. But so if that's the case, and the UK, for example, is going to continue to get warmer and warmer, then, there are things people can do now to try and offset that as a problem and use less energy. And it could be something as simple as growing vines on the side of your house, or planting trees that have a good, provide shade, or provide, some sort of reflective ability. Reflecting solar radiation away from the place where you're living is always a good idea. Again, in these very hot countries, you'll notice a lot of them are painted white, You know, they
Yeah.
have white walls and even sometimes white roofs and things like that. Or anybody who has, you know, ever watched Star Wars where you see the white buildings and that kind of stuff. Well, that's because it's reflecting the solar radiation away from the surface, you know, and it's lowering the surface temperature to reduce the indoor heat. And in places like the UK where we have old houses,
Hey, Mike.
you could potentially do that in order to, you know, see the long term climate heating up.
Good evening.
What's up,
Good
Mike?
evening, Mike.
Hello.
How are we all doing?
Yeah, around here, everybody has a different color roof, you know, based on what they want, what they like. My roof I just had put on it's very, very light gray. So in the summertime, it reflects the heat off. In the wintertime, the snow's usually on it, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, we chose a white or gray. Some of my neighbors have a dark charcoal because they like the heat. You know, save my heating bill. You're going to save one or the other. The heat, yeah, I'll save my my AC bill because I don't want that extra heat coming in the house. In the wintertime, I really don't care. I mean, I turn the heat on, I keep it like 65, which for most people is like, oh, that's too cold. It's like I walk around the house like right now. It's 62 in here and I'm walking around with a hoodie on. Not wearing the hood, but it's just a sweatshirt. I just wear that. Why? Because I like it. It's comfortable for me. I can always take it off if I get hot.
Yeah, you'll see slate roofs and dark roofs and charcoal type colored roofs in the UK a lot, or red tiles and things like that. That's because, I mean, there's never been any consideration for reflecting heat away from a house in the UK.
Right.
Nobody's ever really considered that before. But like I say, I mean, if what we're being told is the case, where the whole of the climate is, you know, heating up year after year, or we're in for these periods of longer, hotter summers, then it might be a good idea if you're getting a new roof in a country like Sweden or the UK or somewhere like this to
Hey,
take that into
Nicole. Good to see
consideration.
you, man.
I got my microphone fixed, Mike.
Yeah.
I was meant to be on Mike's podcast the other day, and literally 2 minutes before it started, I realised I didn't have this tiny little thing to plug on the end
I've
of
got
my
a drawer
microphone.
with about 3 of them in.
Well, I've got about 6 now because I ordered a bunch from Amazon and they came yesterday, and you know, I've went from just having one to having none. It's kind of embarrassing because, you know, I studied audio engineer and I've got a room full of audio equipment and I couldn't find this bloody little one piece that you know, makes the headphones work.
Yeah, now when you have the new ones, you will find that one you're missing.
Yeah, I still can't find it. It's in here somewhere. You know, it wasn't the microphone; it was the headphones. Sorry. You know,
I probably sound better these days because I was talking into my computer for the longest time. Now I got a set of headphones with a mic on it, and I can flip the mic up and it goes on mute.
It's almost like you're inside me, Mike.
Mike, eat the fish. I
used to like being able to hear all the random crickets and stuff when you were out on your porch or whatever.
Yeah, well, sorry, I'll take it off and go out there in a little bit. The birds are quiet right now because it's the middle of the day. As soon as it gets a little later, oh yeah, all the birds and everybody start going at it, and raccoons are chewing their acorns and that. Good times.
So speaking of the weather, the extreme weather, did you happen to see my video on El Nino, Super El Nino? That's the video I did recently.
It's going to be a big thing, apparently.
Yeah, so I mean, I hadn't heard about this at all until somebody had commented it on one of my lives. I was like, every time somebody comments something random, I'm like, oh, that sounds like a rabbit hole I can dive down that I've not already been down. And it genuinely was. And it's the first thing since starting prepping. I've been prepping for, what, 10, 15 years? It's the first thing since starting prepping that has got me more worried than CMEs. And because it's a genuine threat kind of thing. And it's the combination of that and a defunct power grid that just spells recipe for disaster to me. 40-degree summers, we just can't handle it in the UK.
I don't think.
The topic for today is extreme climate adaptation from the indoor survivalists.
Yeah, which is literally the road I've just started to tread down. I can't afford to put AC in and stuff like that, so I'm thinking best ways to keep cool in summer, the usual stuff, close the curtains so the sun doesn't get in one direction, etc. But it's the following extreme winter. If we have an extreme summer, guaranteed we'll follow that with an extreme winter. So that's the killer, right?
Did you go down the rabbit hole of the AMOCs? Is that what it's called? AMOC, which is the ocean current changing, which looks like it's becoming ever increasingly likely.
I've looked at that before. Isn't that the premise of the film? What is it? The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a sort of crazy version of it, but
that's like an extremely sped up version of it.
Yeah.
Everything I read about that feels like it's a threat to my great grandchildren, not to me. You know what I mean? It's that kind of don't use aerosols. We're gonna kill the earth in 300 years. Don't give a shit. I'll be dead.
Well, it's more a case of, that warm, the kind of climate we get in the UK is very odd, actually, given our latitude in the world. We should have bloody polar bears where we live, but we don't. I think we're sort of on the same, is it the latitude of like Nova Scotia or somewhere like that? It should be very, very cold here, but it isn't. It's quite mild all year round, and that's because of that ocean current. If that was to suddenly change direction, Europe would be pretty cold, but the UK would be unbearably cold. So interesting. I remember going down that rabbit hole once. And Mike, as well, you were just saying about air conditioning, about not just before you came on. I was just saying last year I bought an air conditioning unit from Lidl. It's
one of the little stand-up ones. I think Brian's got one in his shed. Yeah,
they're good. They're actually it's good for one room. It's good for like a bedroom. It's literally just a pipe that sort of goes out your window, and then you seal up the window. It comes with a thing that you Velcro to your window, so you can.
How much was it though? Because if it's more than a tenner, it's beyond my budget.
You know what? I think it was about 70 quid, but to be honest, it's worth it.
I'll just sweat. Oh dear. Cheaper to get somebody to come and get the palm leaves and just do that.
Vanessa has a question, actually. What is the UK temps from your west coast versus east coast?
I think the fluctuation in temperature is not dramatic between the two because the UK is not that big. It's not a huge, massive difference. I think the wind chill makes a massive difference, which coast you're on and stuff like that more than anything. But I've seen really bad winters in the northwest and nothing in the northeast. I've seen really bad winters in the northeast and not much in the northwest. So it's very 6 and 2 3s. Same further north, Alan, do you think?
Well, pretty much, but in Scotland, it's typically, most of the wind in the UK is a westerly, so most of our westerly wind comes from that direction, and there's a larger ocean to that side. So the west coast of Scotland is typically wetter and windier than the east coast of Scotland. I live closer to the east than I do the west, where I am closer to Edinburgh than I am Glasgow. So we typically get slightly milder temperatures, and it's not as wet as it is, or as windy as it is, than it would be if I lived sort of west of Glasgow, for example. And obviously the Highlands are separate. They've got a bit of altitude, so you're always going to get snowfall and extremes of weather and things like that there as well.
We kind of don't have that in the middle of England because the altitude is in the middle, like the Pennines running across kind of thing, not really per coast.
Yeah, and Sweden as well. It's quite it's relatively, the seasons there. It's very hot in the summer, very cold in the winter. It's kind. There's no middle ground really, is there? It's typically hot or cold. I'm thinking, is that right?
We here in the north, where I live, we have it in the winter time. This winter we had minus 34 degrees Celsius, and
That's
those
insane.
who live in the south had 15, 20 degrees maybe. So it's a huge difference from where you live in here in Sweden. So
Yeah.
Is there a high casualty rate with them extreme winters, or are people very well adapted to it?
no, it's not very high casualty rates here in wintertime. It would be if the power goes down for a month or two. Maybe there would be, especially when it comes to the elder and sick, they would probably die off first. So
I actually think I might be wrong with this, but my intuition is that high heat is more deadly than cold climates. I think the heat probably kills more people in the world than the cold does. I mean, I suppose that's because more people live in hot countries, like India. If they have a very, very hot summer there, for example, a lot of people are going to die.
Globally, I get that. I think.
Yeah, I get the. I mean, even just from me thinking about it, it's easier to survive in a cold climate as a very hot climate.
I think you're right to the degree of, as we are now, the high heat is harder to handle for us in the UK because we're not accustomed to it. We don't have AC throughout every building like they do in the States, just office blocks and stuff like that. I think if the power wasn't on, if the power cuts alongside that, then the cold becomes 10 times more deadlier than the heat. In
the States, we get both sides. So in the wintertime, you have the elderly and the infirmed in their own homes that didn't turn the heat up or couldn't afford the heat or something. Nobody knows. They have issues. And then you have the homeless, which in the wintertime, they freeze. And then you still have the indoor people in the summertime. Usually the people living on the streets, if it gets that hot out, they're either in the shade or they just go into a store somewhere and wander around for a while to cool off. But the biggest in the wintertime in like the cities and that, that's when the homeless people population has issues because they got nowhere to go. So they freeze to death on the sidewalk, literally.
Yeah. Well, which I suppose is why in places like the US, you typically see a lot of homeless people in places like California. I mean, it's not just for because it's politically a better place for them to be, but also because the climate just lends itself to being homeless. I would imagine. If I was going to be living on the streets, I would rather be on the streets and in a medium based climate, not too hot, not too cold, maybe a little warm, maybe a little cool, but no extremes. There's not a lot of homeless population in the way northern cities like on the East Coast. Like there's some in like Portland, Maine, but come wintertime, you don't see them because they all wound up finding a shelter somewhere. It's rare you see them out. In the summertime, it doesn't get that hot, so they don't care. They're outside.
There's a large percentage of the homeless population in the UK will just stay at home because they're not actually homeless. They're just street beggars that have houses and pretend to be homeless. I've seen them set up in Manchester.
Yeah, we got that too.
Well, that's the difference between homeless and shelterless. There's actually not any real need for anybody to be without shelter in the UK. There is literally a place for every single human being in the UK to go to, whether that be some sort of residential shelter, a hostel, temporary accommodation, something like that. If somebody is literally sleeping on the side of the street, for the most part, and I might get some hate for this, that's by choice. They've decided to do that.
Yeah, mental illness can play a factor of that as well. I mean, I've been on the street for only 10 days, I think it was at the time, and pride was the reason I was there, which sounds ironic that you wouldn't think you'd be proud and be homeless, but it was to not asking to couch surf at people's houses and stuff like that, and not asking for help, which made me homeless.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they say you're only a few paychecks away from potentially being homeless or finding yourself, literally
last week's.
As the bills are piling up, waiting for the next paycheck to come in, going, oh, please, let me have enough left over to buy some food after I pay the mortgage, rent, or whatever. so
yeah,
I don't starve to death or get kicked out of my house. Yeah.
I mean, it's getting worse over here. I've always been a paycheck to paycheck kind of career, no matter what job I've been in. But I can imagine 2-3 years ago, a week before payday, I'd be penniless
Broke.
and I'd be counting down the days till payday.
Yeah. Well, you have other
Now-
extraneous expenses too left over from previous things that you kind of have to pay out too. But there is that.
But now I'm starting that countdown 25 days till payday. That's how quickly it's running out now based on the cost of living compared to what it was 10 years ago. It's insane.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. It's very much paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of people are in that situation. I think it's only going to get worse. There's lots of reasons why that's going to get more and more expensive to simply just go through sort of day-to-day living in places like the UK, especially we're so bloody heavily dependent on other countries. You know, this is one of the reasons why, you know, love him or hate him, Trump, you know, at least got people in the UK to start thinking maybe we shouldn't be so reliant on, you know, the Middle East for our gas, or Russia, or, you know,
whoever,
or NATO, or something. Maybe we should just start doing things for ourselves.
Let's just build more giant plastic fucking wind turbines instead. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and hook them up to Chinese batteries that only come from China. No.
we like, it's like we listened and then did the complete opposite.
Well, you wanted to listen and do what they said, but it's the government that did the complete opposite and said, no, we're fine with windmills and solar panels. Yeah. In an environment that gets like 10 days of sunlight a year.
We won't drill that North Sea. We'll let another country drill exactly the same amount and then sell it back to us instead. Because then we're carbon neutral.
From the same, from the same oil field.
But don't worry. China's building, 10 new coal-fired power plants a year. Yeah, that doesn't matter to them.
There's no such thing as net zero. All we're doing is exporting our emissions. The world is still getting the emissions.
Yeah, it's the whole carbon credit scam. You know.
But I look good. Yeah, and CO2 sequestration going on here in the States. They have plants that just filter out the CO2, put it in, they pressurize it and pipe it into the ground. Really? There goes my plant food, because you got greenhouses that inject carbon dioxide, CO2. They buy it in bottles like soda and inject it into the greenhouse and get 1,000% growth factor increase in their plants because, it's plant food, not a CO2, not a global gas. Sorry, I'm way off topic.
It's on topic. It's all causing global warming.
I could go down that road all day long, but yeah.
That's for a topic for another day, I believe.
So, what have I missed? Top tips wise, what are we saying?
Let's see. We were in the desert, not leaving an airplane when it crashes, so you don't die. We're walking straight lines in the woods. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing really related to what Shadow sort of was pointing us towards, which I think was vapor barriers and moisture management, and I can't remember the other one.
Moisture management, that's a big thing in the UK. If you're lucky enough to have a cellar and you don't moisture manage that cellar, then your preps are soon going to bite the farm.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
And we live in quite a damp environment as it is. I mean, I'm quite lucky in the house I'm in now. It's not like that, but I've lived in cottages in the past where the wall is physically wet. Like all year round, you can just see the liquid on the wall inside the cottage.
They insulated it way too well, and there's no way for anything to escape.
Well, it's stones this fucking wide, that's what the wall was made up of. Yeah, it's madness. And then, so what they did, so the problem we had in this country is we had all these big stone cottages, right? And they didn't have that issue until someone thought, what's a great idea? Double glazing. Okay, let's fit this first version of double glazing inside and these PVC doors and seal them all into this stone cottage.
Yeah.
And all the airflow that was going through it is no longer getting through.
That's
and
what I
they're not
talked about.
modern builds
My
that has-
cabin did that. I did
Yeah.
that to myself. I
They
sealed it
don't
up
have
so
air
well, I
bricks.
almost killed
Yeah.
me.
They don't have air bricks like modern builds do. So it's literally, we were sealing them up, and then they thought, oh no, this is a disaster. Quick, we need to change the double glazing. Okay, we'll put a little tiny vent on the top. Click. That just makes no difference whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was never, the structure of the building and the materials used was never designed to be sealed up as well as they tried to seal it up to save the heat.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I don't want to keep bringing this back to the UK sort of weird climate, but the UK is an interesting climatic country because our relative humidity is like 85% year round.
Yeah, you're surrounded by water. There's no way around that. You're always going to be humid there, so you have to they build accordingly.
Yeah, but like Mike says, we've lost that. Now we've kind of went down this false belief that you should do everything possible to seal yourself into so heat
insulate. Yeah, conserve heat, conserve cool. Yeah, insulate, and then you wind up with mold.
Well, me and my ex lived in a new build, and what they did is they put about 4 layers of the insulation in the loft.
Jeez.
And the upstairs, it was deadly in the summer. It was like a complete sauna in the summer. I had to go up there and strip half of it back. It was insane.
Yeah, same happens here. I have a crawl space attic. We don't use it for anything. But yeah, if I pop the hatch and go up there in the summertime, it's like 140 degrees up there. I mean, I don't know what that is Celsius, but it's hot. I mean, I cook beef to 120 degrees, so I could literally put beef in a bag and throw it up in the attic for a couple hours, and it would be medium rare.
Nice.
Seriously, it's that bad.
Oven.
Yeah, the whole upstairs is a solar oven. Just make sure you don't get the fiberglass insulation on your food. I just had my roof redone 3-4 years ago, and they put in better vent caps along the peak of the roof, because the ones I had there were just they shingled over the peak. There was like this, they left this wooden gap in the sheathing. They shingled over it, and then they just run a knife down the middle, give you this little tiny slit, and then they put this vent cap on there. That's great. Well, the company I had put in there, when they pulled the shingles off, they shingled up to that gap, which is like 3 inches wide. It's a fairly large gap. And they put a different kind of vent cap on there, which is like full of like, those stainless steel metal scrubbers you use for, really getting on your pots and pans if you want to. It's full of stuff, a fine version of that, like steel wool. So bugs don't get in, the rain doesn't get in, and it's not steel, it's made of fiberglass or whatever, but it's a super fine mesh. So, but it lets the heat out. And I have eave vents, so that when it gets hot up there, I could literally hold a smoldering ember near on the eave of my house. You can watch it getting sucked up into the roof and blow out the top of, up at the eaves, and then blow out the top of the roof, because it's actually thermodynamics just let that heat out and draw the cooler air that's outside in, so it doesn't destroy your roof and do other bad things. Plus my cooling bill went down a little bit, which I'll take. It'll probably pay for itself in about 20 years, but
And Guardian says insulation is key. Yeah.
Yep. Insulation and ventilation. I think that's the keys to having a dwelling that's well regulated temperature wise.
What was that film, Alan? The guy sealed himself in and practically made it an incubator, and it turns out outside was fine, and the disease was he'd festered the disease in the house he'd sealed up. It was like a prepper film. I can't remember what it was.
Oh crap!
I'm not sure.
There was like a viral outbreak.
It sounds familiar. But,
it was like a viral outbreak, and he'd sealed up all the house and stuff like that, but he'd sealed it up with some of this virus in, but it had been left in there for so long, and he was like a carrier, so he wasn't ill himself technically, but it was like a super virus inside his sealed container now.
So he was contagious with it, and he was sick without knowing it. Yeah, I remember hearing that somewhere. Yeah, you could be sick and not have any symptoms. Yeah,
sounds like the old C-19 situation.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's it.
Don't go to the beaches. Don't go outside. Don't go to the parks. It doesn't transmit outdoors. Only transmits indoors. But seal yourself in a building full of your family. That's
below, and it doesn't transmit below a meter. So you can sit down at a table and you're okay. But anything above that and closer than 6 feet or 2 meters away, you're no, can't do that.
Yeah.
Guardian says if you're going to be indoors for a long time, please make sure you're already stacking indoor plants to increase available oxygen. Better to do so now rather than wait. Will help your health. Good point, Guardian. Never thought about that one before.
Funny, I'm looking at a plant right now that I have to repot because it's multiplied so many times in this little tiny pot. It's actually starting to crack the plastic pot. It's called snake's tongue. There's other names for it, but we call it snake tongue. And it's like one of the highest oxygen producing plants you can have indoors. And it's an indoor plant. I mean, it's outside right now, but it's an indoor plant. It just, it just loves CO2 and gives off lots of oxygen. So I want to repot that and get those back in the house and let them do their thing. Although I have the windows open right now, so I'm getting plenty of whatever oxygen is left in the atmosphere. But I'm sure a lot of CO2.
Sounds like something we should take for the new Mars habitat when it happens.
Hey guys.
Hey Bob.
Really, Mark? That I didn't know that about the snake plant.
Snake tongue. Snake plant. That's it. Snake plant. Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's if you look it up. If you just Google, best indoor plants for oxygen. Yeah, it's like in the top. It's in like the top 5. There's other ones, but they don't really work too well in my environment. But this snake plant, we've had this thing for I think my mom gave it to me 15 years ago, a little tiny thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just trapped in a pot. I got it's bulbing off everywhere, looking for more something. And I'm like, I got to put it in a tub, wet down the root system, separate them, and just repot them separately. And then they can continue to just expand.
Well, that's good to know.
Mother-in-law's tongue. That's it. Yeah, Guardian said mother-in-law's tongue.
Yeah,
that's it.
Mm-hmm. they're a tough plant. I'll be darned.
Oh yeah, they're brutal. Yeah, I mean, you can break a leaf off and stick it in the dirt, and it'll grow.
It'll still grow. Yeah.
Yep.
I see those for sale at different nurseries around here. I see them for sale all the time. I didn't know that, but I'll see what I can do. See what I
remember.
There's another plant I know of. It's called raccoon's tongue, but all it does is eat stuff.
Those sons of bitches. Damn those
loves soy sauce and slugs. It makes stir fry. It makes stir fry out of soy sauce and slugs.
I remember several podcasts ago, Guardian actually mentioned that before, and I looked into it a little bit. Oxygen producing plants and plants that purify the air, and a couple of good ones that are available in the UK, and I've got some in the house now. One was called a spider plant, a very common sort of hanging plant, and the other one was called a peace lily. Peace lily are fantastic. Because they actually they pump
the
out
air root
at night.
Yeah, and spider plants air root. So when they get those little stringers, those little vines that pop off, it gets a little tiny spider plant just hanging in space. It just absorbs moisture out of the air. Yeah, and then they can get out of hands. But you could clip those off, stick it in dirt, and have another one. I mean, we got rid of most of our spider plants because they were started to take over, and I couldn't keep up with it. I'm like, I'm done. I'd rather have the snake tongue or whatever it is here.
Yeah, I've got a couple of big spider plants downstairs, but I've got a peace lily in my bedroom, and it's fantastic. I don't know if it works like a noticeable level, but based on what I was reading online after Guardian mentioned that before, it seems to be really good. And I don't know if you guys have got them. I don't know what it's really called. I call it a peace lily. If that's the common name, I don't know what its real name is. I'd need to look it up.
Yeah, let me go take a look.
It's got like a white flower. In fact, you know what? I'll get it because it's a show and tell show.
I have one. I think I have a lily growing outside my house. It came with the house. It was planted a long time. It's still there. Let me take a look at it on Google. See what kind of
snake tongue or. Oh
Never
crap!
heard
There's
about
2 pots in here.
snake tongue
Oh
before.
jeez.
Never heard about that plant.
Oh yeah, there they are. Snake plant, spider plant. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Weeping figs. Okay, that'll all right. That'll give me a winter project, guys. You know, something to drop in the house. I've already got about a half a dozen, maybe no fewer than half a dozen indoor plants, but the ones I'm
Look at
most
that.
proud of.
I just pulled my snake plant out of its pot. There's a slug in there. Where's my
Really?
cousins? Yep.
Ah!
Sons of bitches. That explains a couple pieces of the leaf that are like there's like chew holes in it. I know where the slugs are. Now I know
Like
it did that.
I like that somebody just tuned in right then.
There we
when
go.
All your cameras are off, and Mark was saying, "I've just pulled my snake out."
Oh, yeah, that's a wrong channel for that.
All right, fine, whatever. No,
I'll just
Yeah,
jump
put-
in
if,
the
you,
jungle.
if you put some DPM on now, Alan, you'd be invisible.
Amazing.
yeah,
But yeah,
Or an
spider,
adaptive camouflage.
Mhm.
spider plants with the hanging thing that
There they are.
there
Yeah,
it is, and peace lily.
peace
I don't know
lily. Okay.
Don't know what its real name is. It has a big white flower.
Yeah.
I want to see your missus's face as you ran downstairs, grabbed them 2 plants out the front room, and just ran out again. She's like,
Yeah.
"What
Yeah.
the?"
I was having
I get-
problems breathing, honey.
yeah.
I needed oxygen. Yeah, it's
I just need to grab a couple of plants. I'm on the internet with some randoms. We're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
breathing through the plants.
Okay.
my neighbor laughs at me all the time because I hate cutting grass. I just hate it, and it'll get long. It'll look like a field, and I'll eventually go out there and cut it. And he'll come outside out of his front door holding his throat like he can't breathe because I just took all the
Oh,
oxygen away.
Oh boy. Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'll show you a couple of my house plants I'm very proud of. I've showed them on other channels.
I think as well, having house plants. If you've got house plants in each of your rooms, I mean that'll also go some way to managing the moisture content of the living space as well. You know, we were talking about that earlier. The plants are going to have an impact on that. You know, because it's they're consuming water, but also releasing it as well. I would imagine so. There could be sort of a bit of regulation going on there, as well as the oxygen they're putting into the space.
well, this thing is going to be fun to try to take apart. I got like 9 plants in a 6-inch by 6-inch pot, and they're all root bound together. Gah. Time to fill
I can't
the
have
tub up
plants
with
in my
water and
house,
soak it.
my apartment. For one reason, I have 2 cats that would eat the plants.
Ah, yeah.
Well, that sucks. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, that sucks.
There's probably a plant that you could get that the cat wouldn't like the taste of. You know, something that was
Just get a cat plant and put it in the corner. Let the cat have that. He'll leave the other ones alone. He'll be stoned all the time.
All right. This is called an anthurium.
Okay.
There's an anthurium, the tropical plant, and I have a red and I have this one's a pink one that I'm waiting
That's
for
a
this.
beautiful one.
Yeah, isn't that nice? They're really pretty simple to grow. They just put them somewhat sunny place, and
There you go.
yeah. Mm-hmm. I made the soil that went into this pot. It was a ceramic thing from a thrift store, and I made the soil that's in here. And all you got to do is get some special drill bits for drilling ceramics. I think I bought this pot for a couple of dollars, you know, and just and away they go. I got to clean this guy a little bit. But spider plants are easy to grow too. But aren't these gorgeous, man? I want to have the tropical plants, and I want to have a whole ton of these when we finally retire overseas. I have an area. My wife told me that in the Philippines they don't like direct sun; they like partial shade in the Philippines because the sun over there is
Direct sun in the
brutal.
Philippines will just kill you.
Oh, dude, it will. It'll just knock you senseless. But yeah. All right, there's the end of my show and tell. So I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's a nice plant.
spider plants are super easy to grow. That one that I showed you is actually, that originally was just a tiny little cutting that my son was given the project at the Scouts to grow in a little cup. You know, we just watered it and watered and watered. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but you know, it's a fantastic, easy maintenance plant that produces oxygen and cleans the air. So yeah, have a plant in every room if possible.
Don't mind that sloshing noise. I got the whole root ball in a stainless tub of water right now, trying to get the dirt out of it so I can separate these. Holy crap, it's going to be a while. Jeez. Yeah, I decided to do things when Shadow's doing his stream. I just hit the mute button while I was vacuuming. You didn't know.
That's okay.
I think, see, just quickly as well, if you're looking to manage the moisture in your household, you can get, I've shown these before as well, but these little devices that you can get on Amazon. They just tell you room temperature and humidity.
Yeah.
They're very inexpensive. So I've got one of these in every room. You can actually get them so that they all link up together and you can read it on your phone and stuff, but you don't need that. Just get one of these. And it tells you
my Honeywell thermostat in the house for the heat pump system tells me that. Tells me the temperature it is, the temperature I set it at, and the humidity, which is all I need.
Yeah.
And usually my humidity, because of the heat pump and the central air net, it's usually below 40%, which, yeah, that's static shock time on everything, but it's great for my freeze dryer. When I take stuff out of there, there's no humidity, barely any, so I can take my time packing stuff up so it's not pulling moisture out of the air.
Yeah. It's good for monitoring preps and stuff as well. You know, like Mike said, if you've got a bunch of cans or something or food stored away in the cupboard, if you don't know what the humidity of that cupboard is, you know, you could be slowly destroying everything in there. So it's a good idea to get a little inexpensive. This costs like, I think I paid £5 for this off Amazon, and you get like 2 of them or something. And
good deal.
Yeah, but, little tip: if you're going to store things for a while and you have a slightly humid environment, pick up a little bottle of mineral oil and just dip a rag in it and just get it damp with not damp, but just with the mineral oil, and just wipe your cans down. That'll absorb into the steel a little bit and keep the moisture from attacking the steel and oxidizing it. It'll give you a little more time out of it. But I do that with my my canning rings. They come out of the dishwasher sometimes, and I dry them off real well. But then I go to pull some out of the bucket, and they're rusted on the inside. I'm like, crap. So now I just wipe it down with a mineral oil rag, throw them in. It's just mineral oil. It doesn't hurt anything, and it actually helps the threads tighten on my jars and doesn't give you too much friction when you're trying to get your finger tight thing going, and it keeps your rings from rusting.
Yeah, I mean you can get things like fairly inexpensive dehumidifiers and stuff, things like this. You can get the ones where it's like a block that you buy and you put it inside a plastic thing and it draws the moisture in that way. But
yeah, I've had the disposable ones before where it's like a little plastic tub of the beads, and
it's like it's just desiccant. Yeah, it's a silica gel.
Yeah.
And that stuff's reusable, believe it or not. Everybody's like, oh, I got this little package you get with your shoes or whatever. Yeah, you may not want to use it with food, but once they use up they absorb the moisture, you could just rip those packets open or just leave them in the packets and just throw them in a dry place, or if you have an electric oven, throw them in the oven for a little while, not on, turn the oven on, get it hot, like I guess about 100 degrees Celsius. And just shut the oven off and put them in there and leave the door cracked open. The moisture will just evaporate right back out of it, and you got them ready to go again. So, silica gel is good stuff.
Yeah, in the environment like here in Seattle and in the UK, a dehumidifier, I don't have one, but I might look into it because, it rains so much. Scotland, England, and Seattle. It's something to be concerned with.
They do generate heat. Remember that. They generate heat because it's basically an air conditioner unit that it fights itself. You got heat blowing out one side, cold blowing out, and that's where the water condenses on the cold side. But both those things circulate in the room. But the heat's because of the electricity in the motor. Yeah. It's always going to be a little bit more than the cold. So it will heat up the space. So yeah, just if you're going to use it in the basement, I mean, I have one I've used in the basement, and when our AC died out, and I just ran the drain tube right to the sump pump, and it got warm down there because that thing was running nonstop for like a week.
That's a good thing.
It warms up. Yeah. So I mean, if it's humid in the wintertime, sure, it'll help you heat your head. You're going to use the electricity anyway to dehumidify. You might as well get some heat out of it.
Yeah, that might be something to look into for my garage space. But I didn't know that they generated a little bit of heat. Now that's a bonus. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, for certain environments, absolutely, it's a bonus.
If you didn't want to generate any kind of heat, then you could move to the solid disposable block ones, which is just like it's a hard block that you get and you put in the plastic thing and it draws the moisture, and that's not going to produce any heat. It's just drawing moisture in and dripping into a tray at the bottom.
Those things are wild because after about a week or so, just sitting in your garage or wherever, it's just full of water.
Yeah, it's like a horrible blue water as well because
it's nasty looking. It's like and then you throw it out, but you could literally take it outside, dump it on a tray, get the water off it, let the sun dry it back out, put it back in a container, put it back inside. It's just silica gel. And I think there's antifungal stuff mixed in it too, so you might lose that property. But
I'm on Amazon looking at different models here. Different models of these basement and for home. Let's take a look.
You get the raw. They're not light either. They're heavy. I mean, it's an air conditioner compressor.
That's kind of
like just a little fan. Yeah.
That's kind of one which is quite small. Doesn't generate a lot of heat. There is a little bit. It's there. This is electric. You have to plug it in, and it pulls the water out of there that way. That does have a little bit of heat coming out of it. Not a lot though. It's not like you're not going to. It's not like one of the bigger ones.
No, well, you have hot and cold. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because the compressor compresses the gas, goes through the condenser, which condenses it to cold, which a humidity sticks to and drips off of the fins into a container. But then it has to recompress it. When it compresses it, that's what makes it hot. And then it cools that off a little bit. So when it goes back to the condenser, it drops the pressure down and makes it cold again. So it's just like a car. I mean, any AC unit uses the thermodynamic properties of pressurized, gas into a liquid and then expansion and contraction, or expansion and compression. And you're going to get heat and cold, but you get the same amount of energy going out as you do coming in, except for the actual compressor and motor itself, which will give you a little bit higher heat factor than just the neutralization of the science. If you followed that.
Yeah, I think moisture is critically important. It's critically important in survival. Most survival is actually about managing body temperature, and most body temperature is related to moisture management. Actually, if you go deep into the
true,
but I mean, we're talking about humidity in the households and things like that. I think a change in behaviors is what there's a lot of things you could do to change your behavior about how you are introducing moisture into your house if you're looking to control that could be something as simple as if you're taking a shower or a bath and you've got the steam in your bathroom, not having all the doors open and letting that steam just freely go into your house, because it's not just disappearing. It's you're literally putting gallons of bloody water into your household, into the airspace.
That's why that's why most bathrooms have a fan in them to pull that humidity out.
Yeah.
So you're not contradicted. Now in the wintertime in my house, I don't turn the fan on. I leave the bathroom door open and let that steam go in because my house is just so bloody dry. The humidity just helps things not dry out, like everything.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it is the case of it's too dry and you have to introduce moisture. My grandmother used to put water in a saucer and put it next to our fireplace, and she would say that was putting moisture into the living room.
Yeah, I do that. I do that at the cabin. I mean, when I fire up the wood stove, it's a dry heat, and I just have a big 20-liter pot. I fill it up with water. I don't care where the water came from. Usually it came out of the stream, and I filter it a little bit, and I throw that on the stove just to let that humidity get back inside, because the inside of the cabin is raw wood and it just dries that stuff out, and technically turns it into a firebox, but I don't do anything with flames. I don't even cook inside that thing. I don't want the animals trying to get in, raccoons.
dehumidifying, dehumidifying and humidifying. It's funny. I don't know if you guys ever watched a TV show called Monk. It was an old sort of semi-comedy type thing.
Oh yeah, way back. That's old. That was like
way
80s.
back.
Yeah.
There's an episode where he's ill and he's lying in bed, and on one side of his bed he's got a humidifier, and the other side of his bed he's got a dehumidifier. And there's like a cop friend. He's like, "Aren't they cancelling themselves out?" He's like, "Exactly." It's like I just thought that was funny.
Whatever. Yeah. Blow the humidity across you, and then let the dehumidifier take it back out. And you just move the water back over to the humidifier. And as long as you're breathing some of it and helping you, sure, I guess that would make sense from a monk perspective.
Yeah, it's just like some people believe that dry air is better for you if you're sick, and wet air is better for you if sick. And it's like one of those things where like, have both, try both, like either side of your bed to see whatever
works for you. If you're like really congested, come to my house in the wintertime. You'll be decongested in no time because my air is so dry in the house. It's like, oh.
Hey, Daryl. Good to see you.
I can breathe and sleep. I go outside in the morning. Nope. Back to making mucus again.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of other ways of introducing moisture into your house that could be detrimental as well in the wintertime, especially. It's like you're coming into your house with wet clothes, wet boots.
Yeah.
If you haven't got an area where you decant yourself from that stuff and put your wet clothing there and then get that dried off like a drying room or an airing cupboard or something like that. Again, all you're doing is introducing moisture into your house. Even like some toilets in the UK, for example, the water is always there. You lift the lid, there's always water there. And in Europe, there's no water, from what I've noticed anyway. And I can imagine if you leave the lid up and you've got the water in the toilet, I mean, again, you're just introducing moisture into your environment, or water in your sink, or water coming out of your.
Well, that's a thing for like people that have like cabins that they use throughout the year, whatever. They don't never really winterize it. And my parents did it because they had a little cabin they lived in for like 2 years when their house was being built. When they went away for more than a week or two, my mom would just pour a little bit of olive oil on the water. The water the oil would make a skin and wouldn't allow the evaporation to happen as quickly, because many times they'd forget to do it. They'd come back, the toilet was dry, and you could smell the smell in the house or in the cabin because it went dried out the whole trap area, and the sewer gas would come back in. And they had a septic tank, so it was foul. But she would just pour a little bit of oil on there, so you wouldn't have any, like, when you have a little bit of oil on your soup or something, you can see like the little spots where there is no oil. She would pour enough on there so there were no like open areas, and it was olive oil. It was organic. So when they came home, they just flush it. It was gone, and then just repeat as needed. So that's a good way to keep moisture from your toilet from getting into your bathroom all the time. If you live in that hot of an environment and you have some kind of a cooking oil to spare, because it's not going to hurt your septic if it's like a good cooking oil, not some crappy whatever oil. Not going there. Fun factoids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so John in the comments is saying that the human body can lose between 400 and 700 mils of water just while you're asleep, which is that's the importance of having a good vapor barrier inside the sleeping bag if you're in a particularly cold environment. And this is something that a lot of people is lost on a lot of people, just how critical this is, because I know we're talking about indoor spaces here. This would apply to an indoor space as well. If we were in a particularly cold environment and you were indoors, that moisture isn't going to go anywhere. And because it's a cold environment, it's not just evaporating up into the air, it's simply just going into the material that you're in. And every time you're putting 700 mils of water on, that's the upper end.
That's a lot of water.
That's a lot of water. I mean, that's a lot of moisture to put into a sleeping bag, for example. And if you're doing that every single night, even with a little bit of your thermal body heat, releasing some of that out of that material, not all of it will be. And slowly but surely, the material itself is becoming saturated. And then you can combine that with body oils and other things that are coming off of your body, which is actually making it worse, and it's compounding that situation.
Yeah, and it won't allow you. You talked about that a while ago with clothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's in winter conditions, especially when it's below 0 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. Dry clothing.
It's critically important to be able to dry clothing externally, because you can't do it simply by wearing the clothes or simply by being in the environment. It just won't work, and eventually it will become such a problem that your clothing just doesn't work anymore. It's often, I mean, one of the biggest arguments in the outdoor space and for UK mountaineering and things like that is, should I go for an expensive lightweight down sleeping bag or a slightly cheaper, heavier synthetic sleeping bag? Now, I always say I go for a synthetic sleeping bag in the UK because we have a very high...
certainly.
We have a high moisture content in our atmosphere continuously. You know, like I say, the average humidity in the UK is 85%, pretty much all of the time. And even in a very cold environment, it's still quite wet. It's a wet environment. And if you're using down, it doesn't the properties of down are dramatically decreased. Even with a tiny amount of moisture, you don't have to follow it. Just the moisture coming off your body will damage it, even if it's hydrophobically treated, which a lot of them are nowadays. That's okay if you're walking the dog down the park, but if you're in the outdoors for any longer than a week, you're really going to suffer.
That's funny you say that, because when I used to in Boy Scouts, there was always that one or two guys that had the most expensive camping gear. Their mom would go buy them, and one of them they had down sleeping bags that were good to 20 below or whatever, and the down jacket and everything was down, and it was the best thing out there, and it packed up small, was lightweight. And after 2 days of camping, they were miserable, and they didn't know why. It was like they were miserable. They had no idea why. They never took the damn thing off. They slept in the vest or the jacket, the down jacket, to stay warm because it was that cold. Meanwhile, I just had it was like an indoor wool sleeping bag with an extra blanket. In the morning, I'd wake up, just leave it open, let it vent out, even though it was cold. I didn't care. Let it vent out and go back to bed.
I mean, down materials have their place. I mean, if you're hiking in the high Andes or something, or the Alps, where you have less of a moisture problem, or you're only going away for a couple of days at a time, then absolutely take super lightweight down stuff. But if you're in a household, for example, and you're looking to buy stuff, extra duvets. Like we're talking about indoor stuff here, so let's say you're going to stock up on some extra duvets because we're coming in a particularly cold spell. If you've got the money to buy down or even duck down or goose down duvets, I would avoid that stuff. I would invest my money more in wool blankets, synthetic blankets. Go that direction, because even if it does get a little bit damp via your body losing 400, 500, 600, 700 mils of water in the nighttime, you're going to be better off than what you would if you had that big down sort of duvet going on there.
In my opinion, down is yesterday's technology. I grew up, back in the 70s. The best sleeping bag you could get was a down sleeping bag, a mummy bag.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, but I walked away from down a long time ago, and I'm not going to go back to it because those little pin feathers sticking through there, and you're trying to sleep in that stuff. Oh man, that was a pain in the butt. That was yesterday.
I had a down vest. I had a down vest where I would, had a sweatshirt or a hoodie or something, and you put the vest over it. That was fine because it didn't have sleeves. It wasn't really trapping. It just kept your core warm, and I was good with that. And I wouldn't sleep it. I would just take it off and throw it on the floor overnight or leave it hang outside. But that was enough to just give you a little core temperature increase or keep from losing it. But I was always wearing something. Well, back then it was whatever synthetic hoodie you had, and but even that would get damp after a while.
Yeah, you're in my age group, there, Chef.
I ain't that old. Oh, wait, I am.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. I remember that back in the 70s, and down vests, down jackets, all that was the greatest rave. And oh boy, they were everywhere. Eddie Bauer down jackets and stuff.
Yep, gotta have one. Yeah. Gotta have one. Everybody else has got one. I gotta buy one too. That and Guess jeans, and Calvin Klein's and all that crap.
Yeah. I remember those days, but it didn't last real long when you really honestly found out. It lasted
about 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. How uncomfortable those little feather pins sticking through the fabric, scratching the daylights out of you, but that
Yeah.
was back. I'm glad to go synthetics.
It used to be the case. People used to say things like down sleeping bags would last much longer than synthetic sleeping bags. That, to be honest, that was really only true of high-end down sleeping bags and very low-end cheap sort of, if you ripped open the synthetic sleeping bag, it was cotton wool that was inside it, basically. Modern day synthetic sleeping bags will last just as long as a down sleeping bag, and we're talking about like decades. I've got a synthetic winter sleeping bag behind me over there, which is fantastic. It's called the Golden Eagle sleeping bag. I've had it nearly 20 years. And it hasn't lost much thermal properties in the whole time that I've had it. But I look after it, but it's been damp. If that was a down sleeping bag, because of the climate that I'm in, it would have lost half of its thermal properties by now.
Yeah.
And cost me 5 times the amount.
Yeah, I've got a really big, what do you call it? Just a standard sleeping bag. And I've got it set aside just for cold weather. And if we have a power failure that's prolonged, I could throw that right over top of the king size bed the wife and I share. Yeah. That'll keep us nice and warm, along with the comforters and the quilts and stuff like that.
Well, that's what I did when we decided to go camping. I bought 2 sleeping bags. They were almost perfect rectangles, slightly narrow at the bottom, but not by much. But you could zip them together and make a queen size sleeping bag. It was great when I first met my wife.
Oh,
now it's like, get your own damn sleeping bag.
Well, I married a pure city girl. She don't like the camping stuff at all. No. Well, where she grew up, there were armed guerrilla bands up in the mountains, and she don't like to go into the mountains, man. It scares the daylights out.
Where you used to go camping, there were armed Bigfoots up there, so there is that.
Yeah. Hun, let's go camp out. No, I'm not going in the. No, I'm not going.
Not happening.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a root ball. Holy smoke! I'm gonna have fun cutting this apart and not killing any plants. Jeez, I got like 7 plants all stuck together, and it's nothing but hair roots now, and I still don't come apart. But whatever.
You see,
they'll survive.
In Japan, they don't have central heating. It's not something they've ever really had. Now, Japan has very distinct 4 seasons, but it has very hot temperatures in the summer and it has very cold temperatures in the winter. And I've mentioned this before. I'm in the process of making one of these for myself, but there's a traditional thing that the Japanese do to heat themselves. It's called a kotatsu table.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. It has a very, I've said it before, but for anybody who's never heard of this, you can go and look it up. It's basically, there's two ways of doing it, but effectively all it actually is a low-lying coffee table, which they take the top off of it and they put a thick duvet over the top of it, and then they stick the table on top and they stick their legs underneath the duvet. So the whole family is round the table and they've got their legs underneath this duvet, underneath the table.
You call it like a duvet? It's a duvet. But anyway, that's the French term.
I don't say nothing French.
I was going to say a British is not going to pronounce anything French.
I don't trust the French either, so we'll go with that.
If I call it a duvet, if I call it a duvet, that's why it's called. That's it. You know what I mean? It's my language. But I mean, sometimes they'll use a heated blanket, or they'll have a small fan in there as well. And
keep the people warm, not the building.
That's it. That's the exact principle. It's warm the person, not the building, not the space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, when it comes to hot weather, it's sometimes slightly the opposite. And hot weather, it's about cooling the room by not allowing the hot air to be trapped in there in the first place.
Right.
And then work on it that way.
I've been in some traditional Japanese homes, and it's a much different philosophy over there. You know, you'll see the outside of the house has minimum windows, and it's very, very because Japan, Seattle, UK, it's all the same weather. It's very similar. But the outside of the house has a hallway all the way around it. That's your dead air space. And on the inside of the house is where you have your paper and wooden walls. And that's a dead air space. They do that for insulation. But if you notice with the Japanese and the Koreans, they don't sleep on a bed. They sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you should see
mat.
how thick the blankets are that they use to sleep in, the Koreans and the Japanese both. Man, that stuff is about that thick because they're right on the floor. And I've often wondered why they're a similar cold climate, but they never adopted getting up off the floor. Now, they've always remained on the floor, and then they'll roll that bed up during the day. But when they're ready to go to bed, they'll unroll it and sleep on the floor. Yeah. Different mentality. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Definitely.
And they don't wear their shoes in the house either, so there is that.
None. No, you don't do that in any Asian culture. Yeah,
there's a lot of cultures that don't wear their shoes in the house, except for America. We all wear shoes in well, not everybody.
Yeah. I have inside shoes, and I will go out in the yard sometimes with my inside shoes outside, but the wife gives me that one eyebrow raised and looks at me.
Get them things off.
Yeah. When she first moved here, she would take her shoes off and leave them outside. And I was talking to her a little bit and go, not a good idea, hon, because it's
Who's going to steal your shoes?
Yeah, and neighborhood dogs will come by and grab your shoes and tear them to pieces.
Yeah.
So so we got a little mat. When she comes in the house, she stands on the little mat, kicks her outside shoes off, leaves them inside the house, and then wears her inside shoes. Yeah. I think that I really believe that comes from in Asia. They have limited living space. Like you saw how small the yard is in my house over there, and they would have ducks and chickens out there.
Yeah,
and their limited living space.
You didn't want to go trucking that duck poop and everything else in the house either. So there is
Bingo. That's one of the reasons why they do it. Yeah, so they don't track in live poop into the house.
I wonder if you say about the Japanese and the Koreans sleeping on the floor rather than up on a raised bed. I wonder if they're doing that to employ a means of managing their temperature a little bit better, because I mean there is a critical difference between convection and conduction, especially in the sort of spaces I'm in a lot of the time. If somebody was to say to me, you can have a very good blanket or you can have a very good floor mat, I would choose the floor mat over the blanket, because the conduction, the amount of heat that you lose with contact to the ground is astronomical. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you've got a blanket wrapped around you. You can be in the best sleeping bag in the world, but if you're just on the ground without a mat, you will freeze. But if you've got a decent mat underneath you and just the flimsiest of blankets over the top of you, you'll be warmer. So yeah, I mean, it could be a sort of conduction versus convection thing, because anybody who's ever slept in like a camp cot without a mat, you're just up on the cot, it's actually kind of cold. The same as sleeping in a hammock. If you're in a hammock and you haven't got something around the outside of the hammock, because the wind flow, the airflow is right underneath you. You actually lose quite a bit of heat that way. I wonder if they're doing that deliberately, so they can take away or add materials underneath that they can sleep on. So if they want to stay a bit cooler, they could literally remove some of that stuff. If they want to be warmer, they can add stuff to it.
There's also something that, from my own experience going to Asia so many times, is that their homes, the rooms are really small. They're not very big, and they will roll out a rice mat in Korea and Japan. It's made of rice, grass, and then on top of that, they'll have a very thick, like a quilt, and then the huge thick blankets. But I think part of the reasons why they don't have a proper bed over there is living space, because they have to roll that up, get it out of the way, and then at night it's a bedroom. During the day, it's a family room. I think
they eat dinner or lunch there.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I've noticed that even the Filipinos, most Filipinos, and it's a hot climate, many don't have a bed. They'll have a mattress that lays on the floor, a thin mattress, and they'll sleep on top of that. It just, I think a lot of it is affordability and room, living space. A lot of the Asian countries just don't have much living space. But that's something to look into if you want to be able to shelter in place if there's a prolonged power outage. For me and my family, we're going to be sleeping on our beds on the second floor, period. Because, we got thick mattresses and it's up off the floor, but something to consider. Something to consider.
Yeah. I know in Japan, the thing they sleep on is called a tatami, I think it's called. Which is basically like a mat. It kind of looks like a futon,
Yes.
But it's more solid, and they sort of they roll it out and then they sleep on top of that. I've never actually slept on one before, but I remember watching a thing about it when I was researching Japanese survival, basically. They were talking about all the benefits of having it. I was going to get it for the spare room just to see what it was like. I look in when it comes to cold weather adaptability for the household, which we're talking about here just now. I focus on Japan because Japan is similar to my climate.
Same here.
It's like I say, they have 4 seasons, and it is hotter there and colder there, which is exactly the knowledge I want to know. So if Japanese people have went centuries without central heating and paper walls, how the hell did they do that? And by learning sort of all of the techniques and little principles they did, you can learn a lot. And one of the great things about their adaptability is when it becomes hot weather, they simply remove like the walls, the paper walls slide over, and they aerate the place, and they have like a cross section of air going through their properties. And a lot of them will also have a courtyard, a small courtyard where they will grow plants and things and have little water sort of areas and rocks and stuff like that. All of that aids climate control as well. It's not just to look pretty. I mean, it's there because it has it's almost like having like a lung inside your own house in a small space, which goes back to our discussion about having indoor plants and things like that as well. So taking a look at traditional Japanese houses and the way that people used to live that way is a fantastic way of preparing yourself and the kind of countries we live in for the possibility of being in a cold climate, because I guarantee none of our houses have been designed with the prospect of having no electricity or anything in a cold climate. I mean, our house was designed with the assumption that you have electricity and heating. Take that away, and we're basically just in a cave that will probably become moldy and cold and horrible.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, there's one climate you want to take a look at is the Swede up here. They don't feel cold. It doesn't bother them. No. they have antifreeze for blood. You
turn a light bulb on and they sweat. Sorry, Shadow, had to go there. Like, turn a light off. It's getting hot in here. It's an LED light. I don't care.
How do the Swedes traditionally live in the old ways, Shadow? How do they keep their homes warm in the old times and before electricity? How do they do it there?
They had wood stoves in their houses to warm the whole house.
Yeah.
Is it also true that saunas were used a lot purely for regulating body temperature throughout the day? You could use the sauna. You get really hot and then you go into like the cold, and the
sauna is basically a Finnish tradition, basically. So, but we have saunas here in Sweden as well. So,
right.
Now, do Swedes sleep on an elevated bed like we have here in the U.S. and the U.K.? Something that's up off the floor? Is that how you guys traditional? Okay. Yeah. I'm sure that here in the States, anyway, that's where we got it from. Is from the Europeans,
Well, yeah, being that most of us that came over here were from Europe.
The majority. Yeah.
That's why back in, and I still have a couple downstairs, I think, way back, before we had central heat, central air was just a fireplace. They had, you either heated up bricks and you put them under your bed, or my mom had a couple, the ones where you took hot coals out of the fire, put in this metal tray, and you slid it under the bed. So, yeah, you better pray it doesn't catch on fire in the middle of the night. But that's how they warmed up the mattress before they went to bed.
You see, Bob, you're asking Shadow whether they sleep on sort of beds in Sweden. You realise they make IKEA is from Sweden. Everybody is sleeping on a Swedish sleeping system.
Not a Swedish.
You didn't ask him what the beds are made out of. His is made out of snow and ice.
Half of my house.
They bring a goddamn reindeer or a polar bear into their bed with them and keep them warm at night.
Half of the contents of my house is Swedish. It's just an IKEA showroom in this place.
There was something
including baseball bat lumps.
There's something that was very common when I was growing up. You see, and in fact, my parents had a few of those when I was growing up. They're called a hot water bottle. Have you ever seen those?
Yeah, we had those in Sweden as well. Those hot water bottles.
Fill it up with hot water and say, here, take this to bed. That'll keep you warm. Man, you had that thing moving everywhere.
Correct.
So it was the same temperature as you, and then you went to sleep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they still sell those on Amazon right around $10 each. That was real common when I was growing up, but then somewhere around the 60s, 70s, they started disappearing. People weren't buying them anymore. It's probably because we're not relying on a wood stove to heat the house, centralized heat.
I remember as a kid, my mother filling up juice bottles or soda bottles or pop, or whatever you guys call it, plastic bottles full of hot water, and putting them in the bed, and it heats the bed up a little bit, and then you can go in. And now, if I go camping in the winter time, and particularly cold climates, what I'll do is, with my last meal at night, I will also fill up my water bottle full of water, this one, and I will boil this. I boil the water inside this container, and then I put a sock over this container, and this becomes a hot water bottle. It doesn't burn you because you've got a sock over it, and it's quite decently sealed, so it's not going to leak or anything like that. But I'll put this down into my sleeping bag, down where my feet are, and it's fantastic, and it will stay hot all night, no matter what. I used that technique while I was in minus 24 degrees Celsius in Switzerland, on the foot of the Matterhorn, and I was out in the open, just out underneath a tarp in a sleeping bag, and I used this, and the next day this was still hot.
Oh, we darn.
Funny you're talking about that. When I go to the cabin in the wintertime and it's cold out, yeah, I can fire the wood stove up. I can get the inside temp up into the 90s to just heat the thermal mass up, but my mattress is still cold. So I have some pieces of granite that I got from a friend of mine's granite shop. He's like, yeah, take what you want, just don't make a mess. And I just have like little squares and stuff. I throw them on top of the wood stove and let those suckers get hot. And I'll put a couple towels down on top of the foot end of the mattress, and I'll just lay them on there, throw another towel over it. And 20 minutes, the bottom of that mattress is like toasty warm. And of course, I don't sleep with granite sitting on my feet, but I'll do that for the first night. After that, I keep the wood stove going for a couple days. The whole inside of the house, the cabin is nice and warm then. But it's the first night that, the air is warm, but all the furniture and everything else is just stupid cold.
I might add,
you find something, a piece of steel plate, anything metal. Watch out for some of the rocks. Depends on how you're going to heat them up because they may explode. But if you throw it right in a fire, but you can do that too. You put some stuff in a fire, as long as you burn it for a few days and heat it up. Make sure there's no moisture in there, and if it's going to pop, it'll pop. And then just get a pair of gloves on or whatever, and pick those rocks up and bring them inside and lay them on your bed for a while, cover them up with the sheets, and then just take the rocks out and go to bed. At least you'll have a warm bed to start with. You're not trying to use your body heat to warm everything around you. It'll help you anyway.
Many antique stores, you can still pick up the Victorian like brass bedpans that are on a pole that are designed for the coals from the fire.
Yeah,
put
I was
in,
just talking
and
about
you'd
that. I
literally-
have a couple downstairs. It's
Yeah.
They're steel and has a long handle on it with a little spring-loaded lid.
I
And
see
yeah,
them
it
in
has
the
vent
antiques
holes at the
place
top.
all the time.
Yeah, you throw your hot coals in there, and then you slide. It stays off the floor directly, but you slide it under the bed. Of course, it'll warm things slowly. But you're basically living inside a campfire at that point. You get to breathe all the smell that comes off of that.
Yeah. Well, you see, in the Victorian times, the posh, rich sort of Victorian people, their bed was like an enclosed space. It was almost like a giant wardrobe, and they would climb into it because they would only have to heat basically the inside of that wardrobe.
Right, their body heat would heat that up by itself. Yeah,
but they would also use those pans as well. The maid or whatever would put one of those pans in there.
I'm gonna present something here that I think I'm going to get a couple of these just to add it to my preps here. Okay, share screen, and I think this is the image I want to share. Yeah, right here. Yeah. If you can allow me to share that out.
You're not even your picture's not. There we go.
There we go. Those are hot water bottles.
Yeah,
I might grab a couple of those. They're about $20 for 2 of them. Yeah. I might just buy 1 or 2 of those, but they're $20 for 2 of them, and man, that would really warm up your bed.
She come with
put that between you and the missus, and yeah, it's very nice.
Does she come with little bottles?
That would not be bad. Yeah,
that's what
cute little
I'd
blondie.
buy that for $20.
Does it come with the cuddler?
Yeah, does it come with the model? I guess not.
I don't need the robe that she's got on. I just need the model.
Yeah, it looks like it comes with a fabric sheath to go in. It's not $20. Yeah, I could buy that. Oh yeah.
Just pray it doesn't leak in your bed in the middle of the night. You'll think you're older than you really are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, even that would warm the person next to you as well.
Oh yeah, for a little while until you get kicked out of bed. You piss on me, you SOB, no good guy. Wake up with a 9mm pressed against my forehead. You pissed all over me. I think I'm gonna. Damn it! I hate you guys. Just to
making you spend money all the time.
Yeah, you guys make me spend money, and that's really a good thing to have right there.
Hey, just go find one of your local granite countertop shops and see if they have extra. A lot of times they'd be like, "No, we'll sell it to you." My guy, because I'm friends with him. I mean, literally, it took me probably 20 trips because that stuff's not light. I used granite. I flipped it upside down so it wasn't the shiny side. I laid it all around my garden, like mosaic. So I'd have to get the lawnmower in there. I do have to weed whack it, but because stuff grows in the cracks. But holy crap, he's like, "How much you taking?" I was like, "Do you care?" He's like, "No." He's like, he had to pay by the ton to get rid of it. He's like, "Take what you want, just don't make a mess." So I was taking anything that was even remotely rectangular, everything. And I even have a couple pieces. I have one piece I'm looking at right now. It's 18 inches by 50 inches, and it's a rectangle. And I don't want to use that. I'm going to use that for like a outside countertop or something. I mean, it's perfect. It's already cut square. It was a miscut. He mismeasured it by like a 1/16 of an inch. Wouldn't fit. So he had to cut another piece. He just put it out in the pile. I was like, "You can have that." I'm like, "Okay."
Good enough. Yeah.
Right, gents, I'm going to bow out. I've got an entire cupboard to sort out and stuff. So.
He's gonna go get some mineral oil and start wiping his cans down so they don't rust.
Yeah, something like that.
Catch you later, Mike.
Appreciate you guys.
Mike. All right, take care, Mike.
Goodbye.
Stay safe.
Yeah, my project for today is I've got a shop vac, and I'm going to shop vac the inside of my workshop here. It's getting pretty dusty, and it's time to clean it up, man. It's a mess. That's my only project for today. And do laundry, of course. My wife's laundry's in the washing machine and the dryer right now. So
yeah, that's what I got in there. I threw my laundry in there while I was talking to you guys. I just throw myself on mute and go downstairs and load her up.
Yeah, I gotta try to stay quiet because she's upstairs in bed right now.
Oh, she's doing night shift.
Yeah, she arrived early this morning, and I was sitting out here with the garage door, and she comes staggering in the house. And, "Morning, hon. How was your night?" Okay, go.
It was lonely without you, honey. Stop working nights.
Yeah. She just goes staggering in the living room, and she gets a little rice and a little snack, and then right on the couch, plop. Just leave her alone,
Oh, she sleep on the couch?
Yeah, when she first comes home, she does for a few hours, and she's so freaking tiny, man. She can fit on that little tiny couch, and
she could probably sleep on the lazy boy.
Yeah, pretty much.
And curl up in a little ball.
A little while ago, she got up and she went upstairs, and I took that opportunity to go grab the dirty laundry, and I, blah 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 blah. She's still like,
oh, she's like a zombie when she gets back home.
Yep, she is. And she just goes, blah, blah, blah. All right, go to bed, hon. Go to bed. You're good. Go to sleep.
I'll be up later.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to give myself a little correction earlier on when I assumed more people in the world probably died from the heat than they did the cold. I was just looking that up there, and I was wildly wrong. If I was off by quite a big factor. In fact, it says cold weather is responsible for significantly more deaths globally than hot weather. Studies show that cold-related mortality outnumbers heat-related mortality by a ratio of 9 to 1, or possibly 20 to 1. So I was way off.
Yeah, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The problem with cold weather is that you don't know when you get dehydrated.
Right.
That's true.
You don't feel that.
That's true. Mm-hmm. I've experienced that myself when I noticed that I'm getting dehydrated over a long period of time because my skin is getting dry, and it's like, start pounding down the water right away.
Yep.
Yeah. With that same topic, heat and cold, is my brother-in-law is Filipino. He's never been in a cold climate in his life, ever.
Ooh.
Never.
Bring him to the States in the wintertime. He'd probably be like, that's it, I'm going home.
Oh, baby. Yeah, he asked me more than once, what is it like living in a cold climate? And I tell him, there's a reason why you see a lot of Americans and Europeans living in your country when they get old. Because it's
or Florida or the South, Arizona. Yep.
I said, it's just think of it like this. He doesn't have any idea what it's like to have hands that are so cold you can't move your fingers anymore. He's never experienced that in his life.
Or you go to bed at night and the cold is coming up your feet.
When it's minus 34 degrees Celsius.
Yep. And I said, there's a reason for it why you see so many foreigners retiring in your country, bro, because I had to give him comparison. It's like, okay, now your hands are freezing cold. You got to try to unzip your pants to pee, and it's a struggle just to unzip your pants to pee. All right. Now, while you're bent over, you got snot running out of your nose onto your hands, and you've got
as soon as you making them colder.
Yeah. And I said, as soon as you go out into the cold weather, you got to pee. Most people have to pee within a few minutes because the muscles on your bladder contracts, and you got to go pee quickly after that. So now your hands are freezing cold. You got snot, and you're starting to piss your pants before you can get your pants unzipped, and you got snot dripping out of your nose.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me like, "Are you making this up?" No, dude, I'm not making it up. That's how it is to live in a cold country.
Yeah. The same for
now
me.
You got
at winter time.
Mm-hmm. Now you got to run around for the first part of your day with a little bit of piss in your pants.
Now, obviously, he doesn't know the sound. He doesn't know the sound of his wife screaming in the middle of the night when you come to bed late and stick your cold feet underneath her knees or something, and she gets the cold. It's like, oh, that feels so good. Get off of me! You're too cold. It's like I'm freezing.
Wait. You see that comment? Frostbite.
Okay, CR.
Is that a strike one?
Yeah,
guys, what do you think?
Can't fire him yet, but we can strike him on that one.
Strike one.
Yeah, he missed your strikes, Bob. He will be happy now.
I'll catch you before the next
guys...
one. I'll say heat really burns my ass.
Oh, that's
All
a
right.
strike one for you. Okay, we're
Yeah,
going
there
to
you
get a
go.
big
I'm
freaking
trying
chalkboard
to
up
keep
here.
CR from getting fired because he would have come up with that next. So damn it. That was on my. I was just typing that too.
Yeah, but in all real talk, guys, I'm telling this stuff to my brother-in-law. He's looking at me like, really? Are you making, are you making this up? And no, dude, I'm not making this up. Can you imagine being in a lifetime where you've never had your hands frozen? You've never had a snotty nose because of the cold weather, It's like, what? Really?
I used to ride my motorcycle 365 in New Jersey, and in the wintertime it's like 0 outside, and I'm doing 60 miles an hour, and all I was wearing was leather pants with underjohns, and I'd get home at night after riding for like 2-3 hours and get undressed to go to bed. I could hold my hand about 4 inches away from my knees, and I could feel the cold radiating out of my bones,
God.
Which explains why I have such crappy circulation from the knees down these days. So my feet are always cold. I don't care if it's 90 degrees outside. My feet are cold.
Yeah.
Well, if you live in a hot country for all your life and visit a country where it's go down to -10, they can't move their fingers.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah. The only outdoor stuff my wife has ever done is climbing Mount Oppo, which is the same. It's like 13,000 foot elevation.
Yeah.
And she's done that twice. It's the biggest mountain in the country, all that. And there's no snow up there, guys. There's no glaciers, no snow. It's 13,000 feet in elevation. I saw pictures of her when she was climbing it, and they all had down jackets on and mufflers and gloves. It's nowhere near freezing, but they're chilled to the bone.
So basically, it was like from that TV show, A Christmas Story, where I can't get up. I can't get up. He's flopping around in the snow, bundled up so bad he can't even move. I can't put my arms down.
Yes.
Put them down when you get to school.
And I saw the photos and I went, well, how cold was it up there? And I did the conversion and I went,
60.
That's only 40. No, it was only 40 degrees, dude. It's not. But you guys who do the metrics, 32 is freezing, and it's still way above the freezing level, and they're dressed up like
like a Michelin man.
Yes, like that. Where all of us on the panel here, we'd be walking around in shorts and t-shirts. It wouldn't bother us at all, but they're dying,
Yeah, I used to go out in the winter. I used to go get in my car. It's 10 degrees outside, and I was going to work. I didn't really care. I was inside in a car, heated car, or a building, except for like 3 minutes in between. I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. I didn't put a coat on. I never thought back then about if I get stuck on the road and I run out of gas. Now I'm going to freeze my you-know-what off because I was literally wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and it's 10 degrees outside.
Yeah, Chef, that's when you become what's called a statistic.
Yes.
Because you died of...
Why did he die? He didn't dress for the weather. He literally was wearing something he wears when it's 90 outside and it's 10 below. Whoops.
He became one of Alan's statistics,
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you see it's like people who get in their car to go to work wearing their shirt and tie, and it's minus 10 below outside.
That's what I did.
Yeah, but going from a hot house to a hot car to a hot office, but then your car breaks down and you're like, damn. And if you run out of fuel, a car gets cold really quickly.
Really quick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a really cold car is not fun.
No, it's not.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about cars. They're terrible shelters because
they are.
In the heat, it's a baking.
They're not insulated. I mean, the only insulation is the door panel. In between the door panel and the metal skin on the outside is air.
Yeah.
And they have drains built in so they can drain water if water gets down. I mean, cars are not designed to turn the heat on, get it warm, shut it off, and stay warm. No, you run it with the heat on all the time because that's what happens. It air leaks, period.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds of considerations that,
CR has a point as well. Really hot car isn't either fun.
Oh, no.
It's unbearable. I mean, people who leave a dog in a car and just a mildly hot day, and the poor thing bloody dies within 20 minutes because it gets so hot inside a car.
Yeah. And they find that in the States all the time. The guy who went to work and forgot to drop his kid off at daycare, went to work and parked his car. It's like, really? You shouldn't even have kids. Hell, you shouldn't even be on this planet, but okay. And then they find the kid, the windows are all shut, and the kid is dead.
Yeah.
And
That's
mom is
true.
going, how could you do that? Oh, I don't know. I guess I was on my phone talking to somebody at work and forgot to take the kid. You forgot to take your kid to daycare? Really?
Yeah, you should not have children.
No, those people shouldn't even have oxygen.
Those people really, I've seen different cases on that TV show called Cops.
Yeah.
Multiple people get arrested for that every year. People will walk through a supermarket parking lot.
I was only going to be in the store for a few minutes. It was cool when I left. Yeah, the inside temperature now is 120.
Right.
Yeah. And the windows, but I left the window cracked open. It's like, duh. And then they sue you because you broke the window. You broke my window in my car. That's going to cost $900 to fix. I'm going to sue you. It's like, you about killed your kid. That's all right. We're taking you to jail. Sue from jail. Good luck with that.
Yeah, the first phone call, if I saw a situation like that, first thing I would do is call the police as a witness. They left the baby in the car, and
turn your camera on and show the baby in the car, all the windows shut, walk around real quick, and then grab something metal and break a window furthest away from the kid. Yep.
And get that kid out of there.
Yeah. Yep. We get it every year in the UK. Not so much with kids, but with dogs a lot. People for some reason people just stop. Why are you taking your dog to the supermarket anyway? Just leave it in the house. You know what I mean? There's no you don't. If you're going to leave it in the car, what's the hell's the point of even going with the dog?
Yeah.
Right.
But every year there's countless stories of people.
I mean, the new vehicles these days are interesting because you can get out of the car, leave the car running. You take the keys with you. Nobody can put it in gear or anything, but it stays running. And there's people who I've seen it on, TikTok, whatever, where somebody's like, I can't believe they left the dog in a car. There's literally a sign in every window saying the dog has water, the air conditioning is running, and there's a thermometer laying right there that shows it's 75 degrees in the car. And the dog is just sitting there going like, hey, bud, what's up?
Yeah.
I'm calling the police. Then the guy comes out and it's like, what are you doing? You left your dog in the car. It's like, get in my car. And they get in. They're like, oh, it's nice. It's like, yeah, I left the engine running with the AC, but nobody can drive the car because that's the new technology. It's keyless. Start the car, push the button, and you get in the car again. It beeps at you when you walk away. You got like 20 minutes that it'll run. You can reset it if you want. But I mean, yeah, there is that. But it's the older cars that don't have that. They just get out and leave. I left the window cracked open a little bit. The dog is fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
He'll just sleep. Yeah, he'll sleep until he dies.
Yeah, well, Mark, when you and I were growing up in the 60s and 70s, if you leave a living mammal in a car in a hot sun, you're dead. Yeah, they're dead, but it's changed. But I still wouldn't do it though. I wouldn't leave my dog in a car for long. I mean, I wouldn't do it. Just leave the damn dog at home, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, we would go on vacation and we always took our dog because we're taking a dog.
Sure.
And we'd stop at a rest area. It's dead of summer, pulling a camper and the dog's in the back. It's like, we all got to pee. It's like, my dad's like, everybody go. I'll stay here. And then you get back and you just stay with the dog and, take the dog out, walk him around. And then I'll go. And then we got back in the car and drove up the road with 60 air conditioner going. All four windows are open, doing 60 miles an hour.
But something to prepare for. I think I am going to order one of those big hot water bottles. But looking ahead, in retail stores, Walmart, whatever, at the end of the summer is when those camping sleeping bags, they put them on big discount. You can get them
for the end of the winter time for the winter bags, and end of the summer for the summer bags. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one of them in our bedroom right now. I bought it at that time of the year just for the reason if we have a prolonged power failure, I can open that up and throw it over top of our king size bed along with our other cubs.
Yeah.
There you go.
But you can buy an affordable sleeping bag, even an indoor sleeping bag, for far less than you can buy a nice thick comforter, and it works pretty well. So just keep that in mind for you preppers. So, think about at the end of the summer, look for those bargain deals when they're clearing the shelves.
And those indoor sleeping bags are cheaper than the outdoor ones.
Yeah, and they're cheaper than a big fancy comforter. You know, a big thick blanket. They're much cheaper, and they work pretty well. You know.
In a lot of cases, the cheap sleeping bags that you can get from some supermarkets, the cheapish type ones.
Yeah, Aldi,
you can
Lidl.
Aldi and
sleeping
Lidl.
bags.
They're actually on sale just now. It's getting to that sort of time of year. But see if you buy two of those and put one inside the other, that can actually be just as good as a very expensive winter sleeping bag. And there's just two cheap sleeping bags, combined. Because there's an airspace in there as well, and it's the airspace that you're warming up. It's that that's where the insulation is coming from. On their own, they're a bit cheap and crap, but two of them together will actually be quite a decent. Even better so for indoors. I wouldn't want to carry around two sleeping bags in my backpack. I would just have one good one. But yeah, for an indoor space, it'd be pretty good as well. You could get
it'd be good. They are. Yeah.
You can get some decent electric blankets nowadays as well, and some of them aren't even like not even the whole bed blanket. It's just one that's for like a person. So you can get that if you have if your partner is a cold sleeper or a hot sleeper, you can have it so one person has got like a heated blanket and the other person hasn't. I've seen that before as well.
Well, you know what? I think right now while we're talking, I just got my pension yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and buy one of those hot water bottles, the big one,
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and do that right now. Buy now. It's like $18, not including state tax or whatever. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead.
That's a good price.
$19.72. Place your order, and there we go. Damn you guys, making me spend my money.
Again,
that's a good prep. That's a good prep to have. I've got a paint can stove and wood put aside just for heat and water. I could heat the water up in that, even in a power fail, fill it up. Yeah. Give it to the missus, let her crawl in there. Yeah.
There's definitely something in the buying things in the summertime for the winter.
Yes.
And buying things in the wintertime for the summer because it's quite a good way of saving a little bit of money. It's coming into the weather's getting quite warm here in the UK now. It's starting to get into that time of year, and another month or two from now, I'll start looking at buying winter gear, like really cold winter gear.
Certainly,
that's when it's on sale. It's
Although you got to watch, like in the States here now, back pre C-19, you go into it's Christmas time. They got all the Christmas stuff out. And then January rolls around and all the Christmas stuff is like 75% off. Now, it's gone. It's back in storage because they were losing money doing that. So they just don't order as much. And whatever's left, they put it back in storage until the next season. So you really don't find much in some of these stores in the way of, post holiday decorations and stuff after the holiday on sale. Same with clothing. It's not like a fashionable thing to have a T-shirt or whatever. So when the season's over for T-shirts, they'll still leave them out. They may put them on a little bit of a sale. They put them back in storage, and then they pull them out the next year. Nobody knows the difference. I mean, unless you're really shopping in downtown Hollywood and have to have the latest, greatest thing that just came out. It's a freaking T-shirt. Nobody cares. I suppose so. They don't put them on sale anymore.
The supermarkets are a little bit wiser to this kind of thing, but I mean, a good place to look. If you're buying something off eBay, for example, you'll always get a case of somebody who's bought a bunch of camping gear, because it's the summertime or whatever, and they think, I'm going to get into camping this year, and they just don't bother. And then 2
years later, they're like, I haven't even used it. I need the space.
Yeah, I'm just going to sell it. And people. I tend to find, especially on my channel, for example, more people watch my channel in the summertime than they do the wintertime, because more people think they're summer campers. They're like, oh, it's camping weather. I can start looking into it now and buying all the gear and doing all the stuff. And then a lot of those people, they don't stick with it and they sell all the stuff in the wintertime. So that's a good time to pick up a bargain.
Yeah.
I ran into that just the other day. I bought a really nice Boston fern from my back deck, $20, big, beautiful plant. And it comes in a plastic pot, which I don't like plastic pots because they break down in the sunlight, So I buy most of my ceramic pots during the winter And man, are they on a discount, because I went down to the same place to buy a big pot for this. You want to talk about price gouging. Damn, man. During the winter, that same big ceramic pot was like $40, $40. You know how much they're charging for the same thing right now? $130 for the same pot. Yes.
I save all my old flower pots. They're out in the shed. And I just literally went out there when I was talking and got a couple out for these snake tongues. And I'm good. My wife doesn't care. She's like, okay, whatever. You know, they still go in the house when we have to, and leave them outside when we can. I made 4 out of it. I got one little tiny one, big one, and 2 middle-sized ones that all separated out of that giant root ball I spent the last hour taking apart. But yeah, they're not cheap. I mean,
price gouging though.
Yeah, ridiculous. Yeah. Well, it's plastic. Yeah. And there's a lot going on because plastic is made from, guess what? Petroleum. Yeah. China has ramped down their production of plastic to keep, so they can keep the plants moving just with less volume while they're waiting on petroleum to come back, because if they shut those plants down, it costs more money to turn it back on again. And they just kept it running. So, but plastic's getting expensive because, it's made out of oil. Huh. Imagine that.
Yeah. What I did, when we first moved in here, I didn't have much stuff for outside plants, because we lived in a rental house. We couldn't have very many things. And so I at first went to thrift stores, and like that pot that I showed you, the anthuriums in, I used kitchenware, and I got special drill bits and drilled drainage holes and that stuff.
Yeah.
Saved big, but and I had some plastic pots, but now I'm phasing out my plastic pots and going for more permanent stuff. But I learned with the kitchenware, I didn't think about it. I left all that kitchenware pots. They were empty, sitting out on the deck, and they filled up with rainwater. We went overseas, and when we were overseas, all that rainwater froze and it shattered all that stuff. So that's why I'm phasing that stuff out, and I'm replacing it with outdoor ceramic pots that are sturdy.
Go on Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. I have more kitchen equipment here, and I have lots of stainless steel like inserts for like soup things you see in like the Cracker Barrel or whatever. And I picked up a bunch of them for like $1 a piece. They're stainless.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't drill holes in them. I use one of them. I put all my kitchen scraps in. Actually, I have 2. I put the kitchen scraps in, and I go over, dump it in my mulch barrel, leave it outside. Some of these pots has been out here for like 10 years. I took one inside the other day because I needed it for something. I took it back inside and just scrubbed it out with soap and water and put food in it. It's stainless steel. And you can find them cheap on eBay. You can find them on Marketplace. People getting rid of a restaurant. It's like, I have this stack of all these stupid little soup pots, and nobody wants it because they don't fit anything. Yeah. And, $1 a piece. Come get them all. I'll make you a deal if you buy more than 10. It's like, I'll take 50 of them. I'll give you 10 cents a piece for them. How about that? Yeah, just get them out of here.
Yeah, just move it. Yeah, get it out of here. Yeah.
Much healthier using stainless steel.
Oh yeah,
containers as plastic as well. I mean, I've got these little like this little stainless steel. Do you know you can actually? An interesting thing. This one's just full of nails at the moment.
That's an insert from like a kitchen, like a sandwich bar that they flip the lid open. It's just one of those inserts. Yeah.
The interesting thing about this is there's a larger one that came with this. This is microwavable. I was always told that you can't put metal in a microwave. You actually can put microwave.
Your microwave is made of metal, but anyway.
Yeah, you can put this in a microwave, no problem, because it has no sharp edges.
Yeah, it's just the microwaves will get inside. Whatever can get inside,
there's no arc.
It'll reflect back into the food really quick. The stuff on the outside just bounces off.
Yeah, so if you put like a tin foil or a fork in a microwave, you'll get the sparks because it's arcing. But if it's a surface like this, it doesn't. So the larger one of these is what I use for my work. I put food in it and I go to work and I put it straight in the microwave. And it's amazing how many people say to me, "You put metal in the microwave?" I was like, "Yeah." It turns out that's a bit of a myth. You can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, glass or stainless steel. I'm trying to move away from plastic cookware altogether.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's what we're doing here.
Because microplastics in your body is just there forever.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the metal. So, I mean, you could buy those. Not that I buy them. My kids used to eat them. like the hot pockets for a microwave. Well, if you look at the inside, it says slide it into the sleeve. Well, it's like a foil liner on the sleeve.
Yeah.
That's what gets it really hot and crispy, because there's metal. It reflects the heat back in and gets it really hot on the surface, and that's what makes your hot pocket. It's metal. It's like, you can't put metal in the microwave. Well, unless it's a hot pocket sleeve, you're okay with that. Okay.
Later, CR, but I'm probably going to bounce out of here. I've spent a few hours on the internet, and yeah, I might go live tomorrow, but I'm not going to put up any notice. I might go, I might not. Just if you guys are surfing, if you guys are surfing around about anywhere from 5 to 7 p.m. If I'm bored tomorrow evening, I'll go live for a little while, just see.
Well, that's your time. 5 p.m. your time is 9 p.m. my time, which is like 4 in the morning over in Europe. So well, Shadows popped on every now and then. He's like getting out of bed, and he's like, "Hey, Bob, got his go. I got to get my coffee." As he's falling asleep, walking across the floor.
Yeah, I'm probably going to bounce out of here, fellas, and good to talk to you all again. But
seeing you.
Go
test out that water bottle tonight.
Yeah, you SOBs, you made me spend some more money, damn you. But it's actually a good thing, I think. I'll do a review of it. I'll do a review of it when I get around to it. I'll heat up some water on my.
Are you gonna do a review of it with you and your wife in bed with it? That would be a fun review.
That's on a what do you call those porn sites or whatever?
No, that's on that's you're gonna put that on your my whatever MySpace, whatever that channel.
Yeah. No, I'm not about to do that.
For $50, you can watch me and the wife snuggle with a hot water bottle I got on Amazon for $19.99.
God, there's some weirdos out there who would pay for that.
Oh my God,
dude.
I'm sure there's people watching now going, "What a great idea! I'm going to do that tomorrow."
2 60-year-old people snuggling in a water bottle, but you got to pay me to watch.
That's right. And if you pay that extra $1, I'll fart and fluff the cover so my wife gets out of bed.
That's worth $1.
That's worth $1. I'll buy that for $1. Yeah.
Peace out, guys. God bless.
Later, Bob.
Bye. Somebody was just asking a question there in the comments. Can you get heated clothing that is powered by power tool batteries? You can definitely get heated clothing that works with a battery.
I used to have heated socks with a little bar on the toes and that.
Yeah,
I used to use those because my feet were always cold. But I don't know. I'm sure you could probably
retrofit it.
They make adapters for some like DeWalt and stuff like that for using that battery on something else. I'm sure you could find some kind of an adapter for your DeWalt or Milwaukee or Craftsman battery that will give you a positive and negative lead. Don't know how long it's going to last, but
I mean, I've got this little battery here with just a little adapter there that actually goes inside the inside pocket of a waistcoat that you're supposed to wear underneath a motorcycle jacket, and it heats it up just using this little battery. That's just USB connected, but a power tool battery, you would have some sort of adapter there. But I mean,
my wife bought me a pair of their electric hand warmers, and they get hot. I mean, but it's also a battery bank. And you charge it up with the USB, micro USB, and you can use it to charge your phone. And I think it's 2,000 milliamps.
Yep.
And I mean, they're pretty slick because in the wintertime, I'll turn them both on and stick them in my pocket so I can put my hands in there and warm up. And if I stop somewhere, I'll take my boots off and throw them in the tips of my boots, let them run for a while. That way I put my boots back on, my toes warm up again. But they were like $20 a piece or something. She bought them, but it's also I've used them in the summertime to charge my phone out at the cabin. It's like crap. I forgot everything I need to charge my phone except my Jackery. That's in the cabin, so I'll just plug into that thing and put my iPad on there and continue watching the Shadows show or whatever. Well, you got one of those handy there, Alan?
No, I was just replying to a question there as well. But I mean, it's definitely the battery I use for the waistcoat that's usable for mobile phone. You can use it for anything because it's just USB. It powers anything. But
there it is. I just found it. It was in my kitchen here. And it's dead. It's all right. I'll charge it. Here, I don't know. I don't know how do I share? How do I share? I don't even know how to share a screen on this thing. Oh, present. Share screen. No, video file, image file. How do I don't know how to share my Oh, I just have to turn my camera on. Sorry. Let's see if it's on let's get rid of the GoPro thing because I had my camera off. Give it a second. It'll come on. And come on. Oh, I gotta change which camera it is. Damn it. Where's my settings? I'm not good at this. There we go. GoPro webcam. There we go. Done with that. I don't share my screen often, but where's my camera? There it is.
Oh
yeah, it's made by Okupa or something like that. I don't know if you can see it. Probably backwards, but yeah, it's got USB ports on it, and it has the little LEDs and the button to turn it on. It's dead right now. I got 2 of them. I don't know. I think the other one's out in my truck right now, but they're great. I mean, it weighs. I don't know. I'm going to say it weighs about 4 ounces, which I don't know what that is in grams, but yeah, it weighs a good bit. But it definitely gets hot. You put it on the high setting, you're not holding on to it very long, but I'm sure it's sucking the battery life down pretty quick.
The thing is that the battery technology for these things is just getting better and better. So I think
like 3 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, heated clothing and heated products like that are just going to get smaller and more efficient and last longer.
Might as well charge it up before I go out to the cabin.
I remember somebody was talking to me about having heated gloves one time, and I thought that was a bit of a gimmick, and I thought I can't think of any scenario where I would really need heated gloves like that. I thought it would be a bit of a liability, but the more I look into it nowadays, I can see a benefit of having them nowadays. They're not as flimsy as they used to be. There used to be a time where it was a bit flimsy having something like that, and it wouldn't last very long. You would get about 20 minutes out of it, and then it'd fall apart. But nowadays, the technologies really came along, especially in the motorcycle industry, where the heated gloves and heated jackets and heated clothing generally is a big thing. So they've really pushed the sort of the R&D of that technology.
Mm-hmm. Oh, back in the day, a friend of mine, I didn't have one. I was too poor, but they all had snowmobiles when they lived up in Maine. And this was back in the 70s. They had heated snowmobile suits. I mean, it was a full body winter suit, but it had the wires in there, but you plugged it into a special plug on the snowmobile. And it would keep you nice and toasty warm. It could be, when you're doing 60 miles an hour on a snowmobile and it's 10 degrees outside, your wind chill factor is enough to freeze skin in about a second. And they would just be out there, would throw their helmet on, and the helmet wasn't heated, but you didn't need that for your head heat. But it zipped or whatever, snapped the suit snapped to your helmet, and it'd keep them warm, core temperature, arms, legs, everything.
Yeah, I'm sure you can probably get heated helmets nowadays as well.
Oh yeah, you can get it pretty much anything you want these days. Just look for it on Amazon.
I know you can get heated visors on motorcycle helmets. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've seen those, which is quite interesting.
It's got like the little like your heated windshield in your car that you can't see the wires. It's just a glaze that the electricity runs across to thaw out your windshield.
Yeah, I think it's more to keep the steaming up, to try and remove the steaming up effect than anything else. But it's definitely the technology for that's come a long way as well. It's now practically invisible. You could see right through it without an issue.
Yeah.
Remember the back windows in cars used to be like big lines.
You got the grid lines.
Big grid lines. Nowadays, it's so fine it's woven through the front window, and you can't even see it.
Well, it's not even. I had one of my cars from it was a '93 Mercury. It had a heated windshield, and at an angle, the windshield had this gold hue to it. You couldn't see it. It was a coating on the windshield. I mean, it was the whole windshield had a coating on it, so you could see through it. And it was like micro dots or whatever it was, but it was all connected. It was like super, super thin foil or something. And but because of that, you had to have a bigger alternator, bigger battery, and all the other stuff in the car. And because it drew you turn that thing on, though, your headlights would go dim. I mean, but it worked. It would melt a centimeter of ice off your windshield in about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That one scares me. I will be dead in 5 days if I had to survive outside. Jesse picks 589 did that.
I suppose where it is, it's wherever you are. Some places are easier to survive than others.
Yeah. Hey, Jesse Pixie said Mike's vid was taken down. What's going on? Which video?
Yeah, which one? This one? I think actually, if you leave this stream early, it still continues to stream live on the other channel. I've noticed that before when I've came off one of these lives before that's hosted by someone else. It continues to stream even though you're disconnected.
Yeah, because you said stream to my channel and you left. It's still streaming to your channel.
It's still streaming,
there. Yeah.
It's in Scotland as well. Well, it's one of those things. If you learn how to be comfortable in the outdoors, it becomes easy. I don't spend much time surviving outdoors. I always say, people say, do you not get cold and wet? And a lot of the places I go, I'm never cold and I'm never wet unless I deliberately make myself that way. I'm doing something wrong if I'm cold and wet.
And a clothing malfunction, it's like, great, now I'm wet. Damn it.
Yeah. But it's all about, somebody mentioned earlier, layering clothing is an important skill to have, and that definitely is, and that falls into what we're talking about here as well, because if you learn to dress properly and layer up your clothing in a cold house, again, it goes back to the principle of heating the person and not heating the building. So learn to heat yourself rather than the environment that you're in. And you might look a bit ridiculous walking around your living room with 3 jumpers on and 2 pairs of tracky bottoms, but
but you're warm.
Or you're warm. You might see the steam coming from your mouth in your living room, but you're still warm.
Same thing applies. We've talked about grid down for a while, and you have some kind of an energy source, a power source. You don't want to light your whole house up like you're still living normal. You don't. So same with the heat. Everybody else is freezing. Yeah, you don't want to have your lights on and stuff and walk around inside wearing shorts and T-shirts because you're warm and the rest of the neighborhood's freezing. They're going to be like, can I come in and warm up for a bit? Because they'll never leave.
Yeah. It goes back to the sort of principle of trying to adapt your living space, your household to suit it. I suppose for the kind of environments we're talking about, just having something like a warm core room somewhere in the center of your room, heavy curtains, draft proof, and thermal indoor clothing, heated throws, pads, decent blankets, control the humidity in your rooms, hot water bottles, occupy less rooms. There's no need for you to go wandering around your whole house. Relegate yourself to just 1 or 2 rooms. And keep the doors of all the other rooms closed and put draft exclosers in, and then you can regulate your temperature of your house a lot better that way, I think.
Put that up.
Ace.
Ace is really nice.
Hi, Ace.
Yeah, I like that. There's no bad weather, just bad clothing choices.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true. Yeah, it's really just. The thing about the human body is we're all the same temperature. Everybody goes on about people who live in Alaska, can handle the cold more than a person who lives in the desert.
You're just acclimated to it. You can acclimate to any temperature. Yeah. I know people that move from up north where it's cold all the time. They move down south. It took them about 6 months to get used to it.
Yeah.
And now they walk around outside. It's 95 degrees out and blazing sun, and they just put a hat on and some loose light clothing, and they're fine. They're not like me. I go down there right now. If I was wearing a t-shirt, my shirt would be soaking wet from sweat in about 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the human body across the world is generally pretty much the same. There's very, very small changes in human physiology to deal with climates, and most of it's to do with altitude, not temperature. You know, Eskimos feel the cold as much as anybody else if they were bloody naked standing in the snow. Trust me. I mean, they feel it as well as anybody else. But, you know, like you say, you can become acclimated, you can acclimatize to the conditions after a period of time. And of course, you know, some people who live in sub-Saharan Africa, they're slightly more suited to hot temperatures directly, you know, by having darker skin and stuff that protects them from the sun a little bit better than, say, if I went there, I would burn quicker, for example. You know, but on the other hand, people who live in sort of Northern Europe, you know, with whiter skin, the reason, you know, that's the case is because of vitamin D. We have less sunshine, therefore we get less vitamin D. Therefore, we've produced the adaptation that we can produce vitamin D ourselves. And that's where that adaptation came from. But other than that,
people who lived in the Sahara and grew up there, and that's where they're, you know, the whole heritage there, they have dark skin. Why? Because they don't need they sunburn. They still sunburn, but not as much as the rest of us would if we went to the same place.
Yeah, so that's a much better adaptation for that kind of direct sunlight, strong sunlight. Whereas we have less sunlight, so we get less of it. But that doesn't really affect temperature that much. Everybody's body temperature, the core body temperature, has to be 37 degrees Celsius.
Right. Or 98.6 or give or take.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if your body core temperature drops just a couple of degrees below that, you can't self build that heat back up just on your own. You know, even if you consume food, you would have to. You could do it with hot foods and try and build your core temperature up that way. But once you get to a point where you're a couple of degrees below your core body temperature, you need heat externally on your body to warm your core back up. You know, whether that be by consuming hot foods or by having a fire or something, heating you up.
Need both.
You need to heat that core back up, because, I mean, some people seem to think that, know how you get those reflective blankets. If you've got hyperthermia and you put a reflective blanket around yourself, it won't work, because you're already too cold. You're not heating that. It's you're the radiator there. You're the one that's radiating the heat.
Yeah, and those thermal blankets are great to a point, but if you have it directly against your skin, they're worthless.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to what we're talking about, extremes of hot and cold, really what we're talking about is ensuring that our body temperature remains at that constant 37 degrees Celsius or 90, whatever it is in Fahrenheit. Because if you're just a couple of degrees above that temperature, then you can overheat. You know, and you get
heat stroke
heat stroke and all sorts of other problems, which is just as dangerous. You know, I've actually had not heat stroke, the thing before heat stroke, but I got to the point where
heat exhaustion. I've had that too.
Out. Yeah, I passed out briefly and came back.
I didn't pass out. I remember this distinctly. I was pulling an engine out of my car in the garage, and it was like 98 degrees outside. Yeah, I'm in the shade in the garage with a fan going. And I realized after about an hour, I stopped sweating. And I ran out of moisture, and my body just said, I can't do this anymore. And I was really weak and getting a little disoriented. So I went back in the house, and my mom took one look at me. I mean, I was like 17. She took one look at me. She's like, what's the matter? I was like, I'm not sweating anymore. She's like, get in the shower. So she got me in the shower. Didn't hit me with cold water, but it was like, tepid. It was cooler than me. And cooler than body temperature, and she just ran the water on me for a while and wouldn't let me just start. I wanted to drink water. She's like, She's like, your throat will swell up. She's like, she's gonna let me take little sips, gave me an ice cube to suck on, and after about 4 hours and a migraine headache, I was like, okay, I feel like I got hit by a car, but I feel better now. And she's like, yeah, don't do that anymore. Bring water out in the garage with you. I wouldn't drink water. I was drinking coffee all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's a dangerous thing. It kind of comes on suddenly. The strange thing is, what happened to me, I was actually in the Middle East at the time. This was a long time ago, and I was on the back of an open Land Rover while it was moving. So it was like a hot air dryer blowing me in the face, basically.
And all the moisture coming out of your body was evaporating right off.
Just pushing it right off. And I remember it was strange because I was standing up in the back of this Land Rover, and I felt sick. but I get travel sickness, and that's what I thought it was, because it feels very similar. And I could feel myself sort of starting to sway a little bit, and I turned to the guy beside me and said, I don't feel that well. And then I was sick, and then he says, yeah, you look terrible, and then I just passed out. And luckily, him and another person put like cold rags on me, and they were putting water on my neck, and I came around pretty quickly, but I felt exhausted after it. I felt run down, and
your body did everything it could to stay cool, and you just ran out of energy.
Just ran out, and it happened so suddenly. It wasn't like I'm too hot. I didn't feel too hot. I just felt kind of ill, a little bit off. And I can see why, if you're a hiker, for example, you might feel that and think, yeah, I feel a little bit terrible, but I'll just push on because, I'm only 5 or 6 miles away from the town. I'll push on and get there as quickly as possible. What you're actually doing is putting yourself in more jeopardy by doing that. Really, what you should do is stop and immediately find shade and try and cool yourself down, because you're already getting to the point where your core temperature's getting too hot. Equally, if you're too cold and you find somebody who's suffering from hyperthermia, don't heat them up too quickly, because that can be just as deadly. The instinct there is to put them into a tent and turn every bloody heater you've got on, or something like that, or put them in a hot car. You can actually give them shock by doing that. So you have to gradually, put some, a blanket on them, and then gradually bring them round, sipping a warm drink or something.
Warm their extremities first, like their feet and their hands, because the blood circulation will pick up some of that heat and bring it back to the core.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same with cold. Same with the other way around. If you're hot, that's what my mom taught me when I was young. I come inside, I was just hot. She was like, just run your wrists under cold water. And within like a minute or cold, just put your head under the faucet, let it run across your neck where the blood vessels are closest. Yeah. And it would cool you right down. I was like, wow, that works great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where if you're in, you remember if you're outdoors and you're cold, your hands feel a bit cold, and people do this and they blow into their hands. Don't do that, because all you're actually doing is blowing moisture into your hands, and
you get even more colder.
Feels good for a second, and then it gets colder.
It's not. A better thing to do is actually put them under your armpits.
Yeah.
Or down between your legs, because those areas are warmer, and you'll be able to heat yourself up a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So that's the way to sort of deal with that in those kind of environments. But like somebody was saying earlier, people can die of the cold in their house, even in the UK. Just while we've been talking, I've been reading some other statistics. It's incredible to me that apparently over 2,300 people have died in England in the winter of 2025 to 2024, 2025. I think most of them are old people, or people who have got some other sort of issues, and I don't really know how they're calculating that, but that's what it says. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people based on just a temperature change. Yeah.
Yeah, and
the body shivers. When you're shivering, it's your body trying to make friction to warm you back up again. If you stop shivering and you all of a sudden feel warm, you got a problem.
You're screwed.
Yeah.
You better be quick to think about that, because your brain is one of the first things, your cognitive ability goes away. It's like, oh, I'm nice and warm now. Let me take my shirt off. You're dead.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That is why those who are alcoholics in wintertime, when they walk home, they feel hot. They take off their clothes and
then they pass out and die. Yeah.
Alcohol also thins your blood a bit, and also is not particularly good for thermal regulation.
In either sense. Everybody's like, oh, I'll have a shot of whiskey because I'm cold. It's like, okay, that might help for a very, very short term. If you're dehydrated and your blood is thick, that may help circulate some of the blood around because you just thinned it out, but only for a few minutes.
Yeah, it's a bit of an illusion, because that warming feeling of like having a shot of whiskey. What was what was the thing that the dog used to have around its neck? Is that rum?
Yeah, it was brandy. It was brandy. Yeah, the brandy dogs. Yeah, the big dogs. Yeah,
the brandy dog. But I mean, it's something of an illusion, because it gives you a sense of warming, but it's not really. I mean, it's actually kind of doing the reverse of what you want it to do, really, and could put you in a little bit more peril.
Sorry, I'm laughing. Jesse Pixie said a banana can cool you down. I'm like, cooled me down once. I slipped on one, and the speed I was moving towards the ground, that extra air current cooled my sweat off for about a nanosecond before I conked my head on the floor. I guess I don't know how a banana can cool you down, but elaborate on that, maybe.
Yeah, I never heard a banana can cool you down before, so that's new to me.
Maybe if you freeze the banana or something.
Mm.
No, I don't know. Maybe something in the minerals or the whatever's in it that gets in your body can help your blood circulate. Yeah, Saint Bernard. That's it. Thank you, lady.
Yeah,
that was the brandy dog was the big Saint Bernards up in the Alps.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's right.
We all learned that from cartoons back in the day.
Do you know? I don't even know if it's real. I don't even know if they really did that or they still
I don't think
that.
it was, but they made it seem real because when we were like really young watching the cartoons on Saturday morning, here come, Bugs Bunny gets stuck in the snow, and here comes this big Saint Bernard with a brandy barrel with a little spigot and a cup in his mouth on his neck. Warmed Bugs Bunny right up, or Daffy, or whoever it was. Okay, electrolytes. Gotcha.
Okay, that explains everything.
Mm.
Yeah, bananas contains a lot of potassium. Well, I think we're beginning to wrap things up.
Yeah, it sounds good. I still got more to do. I got a vacuum upstairs now, and I'm not going to take my computer up there with me. Do before the wife gets home. She'll be happy. Thank you, Shadow. Appreciate the content. That was great.
Yeah, that was a good conversation. That's actually because I think it's particularly important for people to realize that if something was going to happen from an extreme temperature point of view, which does happen every year, we see it. People get caught out. You see what happened in Texas where they had that sudden cold spell, and you see it happen in other parts of the world where it suddenly becomes blazing hot. You're more likely to be indoors than you are outdoors, and you can't rely entirely on air conditioning or gas central heating. So just thinking a little bit about what you can do to make your own living situation that little bit more comfortable, to adapt to it, even if it's temporary. I think that's a good skill to have. And there's so many examples. Some of the stuff we've talked about we've just skimmed the surface. I mean, I advise anybody to take a look into some YouTube videos about how Japanese people traditionally kept themselves warm. It's very interesting. And equally, you can have a look at how people in sub-Saharan Africa and Turkey keep themselves cool traditionally, and the methods they do is very interesting as well. And it's all relatable information to what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. I think this is one of the few ones we've done, Shadow, where we may have gotten off track a little bit, but we were actually still in topic for the most part.
Yeah.
We didn't go
for the most part,
out in Never Land. We just, except for a couple of plants and oxygen and stuff, but everything else was still applicable, which that's rare for us.
Yeah. Hey,
it is.
Even the plants and the oxygen and the moisture management, it was all kind of, it was all in there.
Good times. All right, I'm going to bail. You guys have a great time. Thank you, Shadow. And
you're very welcome,
Alan.
Yeah, it was good speaking to you, and thanks for having me on, Shadow. That was great. Thanks.
It's always a pleasure, Alan.
I'll jump off too.
See you guys. Take care.
Take care. Stay safe, guys. I will see you next week. Same time, same channel. And remember, be part of the solution, not the problem. And we are out.